Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is TWiT Live special number 291, recorded Monday, June 13th, 2016, WWDC Keynote. TWiT Live specials are brought to you by Braintree. Mobile app development can be complex, but integrating payments no longer has to be. With Braintree, your business can accept nearly every type of payment from any device with one easy integration. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/twit. Don't sugarcoat it. Use Braintree. I like it. Hello, everybody. Leo Laporte here. Megan Maroney joining me. How are you, Megan?
I am doing great. I am excited. I think that I've got my expectations managed correctly.
Good. Andy Anako is also here from the Chicago Sun-Times via Skype. Hi, Andy.
Hello. Yes,
I was going to say, isn't this more comfortable doing this than waiting in line and getting you know?
I woke up only 2 hours ago. I made myself a very nice breakfast. I watched Hamilton videos on the sofa from last night. I'm in soft, comfortable clothing that is not soaked with sweat. I am mentally alert and sharp.
This is they're at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. The second time they've done a big event there. It's not far from Moscone Center and the Moscone West or the Yerba Buena Center, where they normally do these events, going back really to the iPod events and the music events. But I suspect this is the last time they'll be doing an event anywhere but the Apple campus. Even though the Apple campus is far from done, the favorites are that the next event will be this fall. The iPhone event will be at the Apple campus. They finished the theater as quickly as they could. You might be driving in mud, but but you will be there, I think. What do you think?
It's the Apple off-roading experience. But yeah, I would be surprised if the next phone event weren't held on campus. WWDC, you remember that you're trying to get 3,000 people hosted in a place at the same time. But then again, Google decided to build a tent village in their parking lot so they can make everything work. The amount of control they can have over the scheduling and the venue, I think Apple is willing to discomfort almost anybody in order to get that stuff.
Exactly. Megan, we were talking before that we began about expectations. This would probably be one of the lower expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I don't like to do predictions, but there's things I hope for.
Your hopes and dreams?
My hopes and dreams for today, I've managed them. I would like to see more developers have access to Siri. I think that with Google Home being, an object that's going to come in the future, I want Siri to be in the Apple TV, and I want developers to be able to have more access to her so that she's more useful. I would also like to see iMessage on Android, so all my Android friends can see the same emojis as me.
And these have all been rumored, as well as a big update to iTunes. The music you were hearing was coming from Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. The music has stopped, but the poster is still up, so I don't know when they're going to begin it. It is there's a minute till 10 o'clock here on the West Coast.
That's the exact the time that the license for that music ran out.
I think Apple was clearly behind the sudden appearance of articles on iMore, Rene Ritchie, and on 9 to 5 Mac saying, don't expect any hardware. We'd heard rumors about new screens with GPUs built in, new Apple MacBooks and so forth, and it was very clear. Here comes Tim Cook, CEO.
Thank you.
And a standing ovation from the Apple employees in the front row there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wearing a nice kind of denim shirt, black jeans, tucked in.
Thank you.
Fashion watch.
Has he got an Apple Watch on?
Before we start with the keynote, we'd like to take a moment to talk about the tragedy that occurred yesterday in Orlando, Florida. We offer our deepest sympathies to everyone whose lives were touched by this violence. It was senseless, unconscionable act of terrorism and hate, aimed at dividing and destroying. The Apple community is made up of people from all around the world, from all different backgrounds and all different points of view. We celebrate our diversity. We know that it makes us stronger and moves everyone forward. Please rise and join us in a moment of silence to honor the victims and the people who love them. Thank you.
Very beautiful moment. Tim Cook once again taking the stage as
Hello and
kind of more
welcome
than just a CEO.
to WWDC 2016. It's great to be here at the legendary Bill Graham Auditorium in beautiful San Francisco. We have a really big and jam-packed morning planned for you, and we couldn't be more excited. Let me give you some details on the conference this year. This is our 27th Worldwide Developers Conference. The developer community has never been more vibrant. We now have 13 million registered developers, with 2 million added in the last year alone.
The graphics that you're seeing behind him and that we're on the web page and we're all over is what it looks like when you develop with Swift and Xcode. So.
Yeah. Also choosing the classic Apple logo colors.
Yeah, although some might say they look a little bit like Google's material design colors, that kind of dark blue gray. So I guess great minds think
We're
alike.
excited that we're attracting so many new developers. Over
This is going to be a
70%
developers
of the attendees at the
developers
conference
show. There's
this
just no
year
question.
Are attending the conference for the
Which can be
very
exciting
first
because
time.
it lays the groundwork for hardware.
We're investing
Right.
No company's more
in the
intimate between
next
hardware and
generation of
software.
developers.
Yep.
We've awarded 350 scholarships this year.
We met two of the teachers who were here from Australia on an Apple scholarship. They teach computer science in high schools.
These
They were
guys
so
are
excited
incredible.
about
If you
going
see
to that.
them, make sure that you congratulate them. We have over 100 attendees at the conference this year that are under 18 years of age.
So something we did last year was so great. I just love
The
seeing that. All the kids.
youngest.
Look at them.
The youngest is only 9.
Wow.
Wow.
He will be your boss in 4 years.
She.
Look at her. She.
Sorry, you're right.
Well done. Well done.
He's going to
My
make
apologies.
one heck of a great developer.
That's awesome. I love seeing that. Look at her. Oh, that's fantastic.
This week is about helping you get the most out of our platforms. So we have over 100 engineering-led sessions and over 150 hands-on labs with over 1,000 Apple engineers on site here to help you through the week. The App Store started 8 years ago with only 500 apps. Recently, we passed a major milestone. We now have 2 million apps on the App Store.
That's remarkable.
Yay, quantity.
Your 2 million apps have been downloaded 130 billion times. And as you know, the App Store is the best business opportunity for developers. We're about to pass $50 billion paid directly to developers. This is absolutely amazing. And of course, successful developers translates to us having the best apps on our platform for users. And this is what really matters. Now, we have a busy morning planned, but I'd like to take a moment to talk about why we do what we do at Apple. Our North Star has always been about improving people's lives by creating great products that change the world. And we've been doing this for a long time. But today, for the very first time, we're going to talk to you about 4 Apple platforms. Each of these platforms is category defining and world changing.
This is probably the rename of OS
The
10 to Mac
Macintosh
OS.
Changed personal computing. Today,
Maybe making Siri into
it's the
a
most
platform.
innovative and loved personal
Really?
computer
Yeah,
on the
4.
planet.
Let's see, TV, Watch,
iPhone.
iOS. No, I think they got the 4 already, Andy.
It's the best smartphone experience.
Even though Apple
And the
TV and
gold
Watch
standard
really
by
are
which
iOS.
Everything else is measured. The iPad magically transforms a glass canvas into anything that you want it to be.
Talking operating systems,
It's our
not necessarily.
clearest expression
Yeah.
of the future of personal computing. Apple Watch, only 1 year old, it's already the ultimate
So
device.
TV is what
for a
is getting
healthy life.
left out.
And Apple
Oh,
TV
well, that's 5 platforms.
just announced last fall, based on the idea that the future of TV is apps. It's already transforming the biggest screen in our homes. Now, we love
I guess we could call
creating
iPhone and iPad
great
one platform.
apps. We love creating great products that change the world. But we
Developers
can't
in
do it
the
alone.
Amazon burnt orange color.
Developers are a crucial part of that journey. You are a part of everything that we do.
Xcode for Fire
Everything
Phone.
that we will do going forward. Because it's together that we enrich people's lives. Now, we offer you 4 incredible platforms that power these world-changing product experiences. watchOS, tvOS,
Here we go.
OS 10,
Oh, good.
iOS. We're going to move each of these platforms
No
forward
Mac OS
today.
this time. It's going to
We'd
be
like
OS
to
10
get
still.
started with watchOS. And to do that, I'd like to invite Kevin Lynch up. Kevin?
This is a super, super important thing.
Kevin is the Adobe CTO who moved to Apple, so much to some people's surprise. Now in charge
Thank you, Tim.
of watchOS.
So I am really excited to talk with you
They
about
gotta start making good on
and show you
watchOS
some
now.
of what's
Yep.
ahead. Now, people who are using Apple Watch love it, particularly for quick glances at information and quick interactions. And our top focus is performance, and we've made optimizations across the entire system, including a serious acceleration in app launch time. Your app should actually respond instantly.
I want a flower of
Is
death.
that the case?
Yeah.
Does it?
And the
No?
information you
No.
look at should be
Okay.
updated
Just-
before you go look.
wasn't my
It's
experience,
ready
but I'm
the
just
instant
checking.
that you are, so you're not waiting. In watchOS 3, your favorite apps can respond instantly.
Oh, this is a new
Let's take a
OS.
look.
Yes.
So we're going to accomplish this by keeping your favorite apps in memory. We're going to support background updates of data and refresh the information so it's ready the instant that you are. And then we support quickly launching these apps and interacting with them.
I think this is something
This
they
is
need
going
to
work
address
for both the
directly.
built-in apps and third-party apps. Let's take a look at an example.
Number one complaint,
This
really,
is
is
watchOS
the lack
2.
of
We're going to
responsiveness.
look at an app called
That's what puts it in a
OneFootball.
drawer.
We're going to launch it from the complication on the bottom left, and we're going to see how long it takes.
You wonder if they'll do new hardware with
we are
more
launching
RAM
the
if
app.
they're going to keep this stuff in
Takes a
memory.
few seconds to launch, and then
Few
once it launches,
seconds.
it loads some data, and it updates. There we go.
That's
So
unusually
that is a
fast.
pretty typical example in watchOS 2. Now we're going to take a look at OneFootball launching in watchOS 3. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, don't blink.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
nice.
No spinning flower
So
of death.
that's pre-caching, obviously. And I wonder if more memory in the next generation.
So that
launches.
example is about 7 times faster, but it feels like 1,000,000 times faster.
Yeah,
So now we've made it really
Depends how
easy
many
to
apps they want to
access
keep
your
in memory
favorite
at the same
apps.
time.
right.
You could just press the side
But
button.
I
below
think
the
probably
crown,
people use a
show all the
handful, like
dots.
literally 4 or 5 apps all the time. Those will
You can
pre-cache,
quickly
right?
scroll through them.
That's nice. Much better.
Yes.
Is that glances? Oh, I see.
The apps
That's
are now both glanceable and interactive rather than separate concepts. And this is a dramatic improvement in how it feels to use the watch. So this increased performance allowed us to have access to our favorite apps quickly, and we want to be able to access
this is the
access them
question. Will you
anywhere.
need new
So by
hardware
using
to
the
do
side
this?
Button, you can get to them easily. Now, another key design goal we had was to make the watch feel more familiar. And so we've done, with the watch face now, we've added Control Center. You just swipe up from the bottom, just like on iOS, and very familiar. So this is a giant improvement in how it feels to use apps and to
There's a
navigate
limit
the
to how
watch
far they can go with that.
easily in watchOS
It's a
3.
much smaller screen.
Now, we've also made it more powerful to reply to messages. So now when you receive a message, you can see the ways to respond right there. We've removed a step. You don't have to actually press reply now. You can just pick the way you'd like to reply. And if you just scroll down, you'll see your smart replies right below the message. So you can just tap to reply in less than a second. Now, sometimes you don't see exactly the response you like, and you're not in a situation where you can use dictation. So wouldn't it be great if you could just write your message on the watch?
Yes.
Well, we're introducing a new way to do that with something that we call Scribble. With Scribble, you have a new way to respond just by writing what you like on the screen, and you can just quickly draw the letters for your message right there, like writing something like Starbucks. And you can see the letters go right on top of each other.
Graffiti.
They're walking back a lot of the stuff they said during the intro way back in September. Like the previous year.
This is the kind of stuff they'd promised?
Just the response that you like.
No, that's the stuff they said that, well, you're kind of screwing things up if you're doing
Yeah.
And it reflects your
But we
style.
need it. We've
It's
realized
something
using the
characters
watch for a year,
define.
we need
We've
this.
had Mickey as a fun watch face that I like to use on weekends. But I know what my daughter's going to really love is Minnie is coming to the watch now.
That's good. Yeah.
It's good.
And Ms. Pac-Man. Good. It's that's great. That's diversity, ladies and gentlemen. Diversity in Silicon Valley, right there.
Do jellyfish have genders?
Now, one of the most frequent things people do is look at your activity rings. And we're adding a new watch face specifically for that called Activity.
That's
so it's a
good.
great, beautiful way to see your rings throughout the day. It comes not only in the analog version, but also a really nice chronograph version and a digital version. So a super good way for looking at your progress during the day. We've also added a really simple new face that we call numerals, which is very beautiful. And the hours actually go around the dial during the day. And you can choose from a variety of fonts that match your style. So a really simple new watch face.
This API for custom watch faces.
Now, there's a lot of watch faces to choose from, and we're finding that people are actually switching between faces for different occasions. So we're going to make that super easy. You can now just swipe to switch to the face you'd like to use. And you can choose which faces you'd like and how they're configured so you can easily get to them. And we've also added the ability to add more complications to faces, like weather here on the photos face.
Maybe I'm just
So
not the
now
right
it's
audience,
really
but it all
simple to
seems very
navigate and use
kind
your
of
watch
trivial.
faces as well. Let's see all this
Well,
stuff running live. For a demo, please welcome
it's a fashion device.
Yeah.
So you need to add that customization.
I mean,
really surprised. Oh, goodness, you didn't mention. Okay.
Yeah,
I was hoping to see custom watch
customizable.
faces.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning. I could not be more excited to have the opportunity to show you.
And I think these watch faces are still kind of boring.
Yeah.
I wake up to my favorite new face. Just the girl I've been looking for. Now in watchOS 3, you
the
have a
shoes
place
don't
to
match
keep
the
all your
band.
favorite apps. You choose which apps go in your dock.
I feel
and
bad
choose
because
the
she's
order.
leashed.
can
Oh, I
bring
guess
up
they
my
have
dock
to
by
be
pressing
leashed
the
so they
side
can
button.
you can see
And I
what.
can swipe through my apps
Video.
one at a time, or lay my finger down in these
thought it was
dots
they didn't
at
want her to
the
steal
screen
the
and slide
watch.
through my dock
Yes,
to any
that's what it is.
and the apps in my dock are live. So I can get a quick glance at information without even launching an app, like how close I am to closing my activity rings. And the apps have been redesigned to put me within one tap of the thing I most
Is that a
want to do.
thing now among you fitness
take a look
types,
at the
closing your
timer app.
activity rings?
One
Yes,
tap to launch
it's a
it,
thing.
and it's right there waiting.
I want a ring for how much time I spend on Twitter because I think that's
Still
also
send
Yeah,
it
take
out
the
to
part of my
my
stand-up
house.
ring
That's
out,
what I
put
wanna
that
do.
in there,
But
yeah.
the most common choices for a timer are
I
right
wonder
here
if
on
they're
the
going to use the
screen.
same dock
So with
rules
one
that's going to
tap,
try to keep the
I can
most
set a 10-minute
frequently
timer
used
and get
apps
right back to what I
close
want.
to each other, so you don't spend so much time sweeping through. That's been one of the major fails of watchOS. It is so hard to just get the one piece of
And lift.
information you need and then get
They
back on
are
with your
lightning
life.
Fast too. Let's take a look. With one tap,
Oh, I
I can
closed my
call a
rings.
car.
Look, I did. I closed.
Yikes, 3 minutes.
Good work.
I have so much to show you, like new apps, reminders, and Find My Friends that have been designed specifically for this kind of quick interaction. Let's look at reminders. Now I can keep all my lists with me
This is
throughout
the
the day.
challenge of a
and just
watch,
check
of course,
things
is you
off
have
as I get
so
them
little
done.
real estate, and you're trying to add
Here's my bucket
functionality to
list.
it. And this is something I
Don't do this
expect
very
Apple to really do.
But today's just one of those
Well.
days.
It wasn't perfect. So that's nice. She checked off her bucket list for presenting at WWDC.
That's actually on my bucket list too.
Is it really?
Find My Friends takes advantage
I'd like
of
just to get
background
invited,
updates
frankly.
to ensure I always have the latest and greatest location for my friends and family. Now I never have to worry about whether my kids got to their activities on time.
That's a nice tool.
Oh, that's very
thinking
nice.
about that's thinking about what people are going to use a watch for.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Fabulous for a casual
Do your kids
weekend,
have to have
sometimes I
Apple
wanna wear
Watches for that to
something
work?
simple.
No,
That's just Find
an
My Friends.
iPhone.
Now
Right,
with
yeah.
an
You just
edge-to-edge
have to be stalking
swipe,
your children.
I
That's
can
Finally, a
find my
use for
digital
Find My
space.
Friends.
And for those of you as obsessed with closing your rings as I am, we now have the activity face.
Ooh.
Every time I raise my wrist, I get to see those big, beautiful rings reminding me to
Well, there
get
should
up
be a ring for
and
that.
get moving. And I can launch my workout right from the face. With a new quick start feature, I can bypass setting up a goal and just get started.
Yeah, I do that too. I just go open.
I didn't really come dressed for a workout today, so I'm gonna swipe over, end that, and take us back to our watch face.
Better heart rate is up, though.
Notifications are still right where I think they'd be, pulled down from the top of the screen. This is a message I saved from my friend Isabel.
Reply in
She's been teaching me a
Chinese.
little
Wait a minute.
Mandarin,
Look at that.
and she wants me to reply about dinner tonight in Chinese.
What?
I can do that with the new Scribble feature.
What? Oh, there's why Scribble.
Scribble works in
Yeah.
English and Chinese, and it knows what language my keyboard has been set to. So with my finger, I can write out a quick message.
If you know
It also
Chinese.
points out, a difference between
That's
Apple and other companies.
interesting.
They really quickly support every country they can support. They're not
Yeah.
just U.S. and UK.
Well, and
yeah,
they
China.
need that Chinese market to grow.
Those are just a few of the features of watchOS 3, but of course there's more. Back to Kevin.
No Spanish.
Nice demo. No, just 2 languages so far.
Diacriticals. We'll find out later.
That was awesome,
But
Stacy.
yeah.
Thank you. And it's so exciting to achieve this new level of performance on the watch.
Chinese is made for
We're
Scribble.
finding that people who are
Much
wearing
more
Apple Watch
concise.
wear it all the time. And this opens up some new great ways that we can help.
And then again, the younger generations forgetting how to write that way.
Just by pushing a button that's actually on you. So you might be having a medical emergency, for example, or a safety situation. And we're going to be able to help with that
this
with
is good.
SOS on the watch. And we're going to make
SOS.
it easy to call for help. To activate it,
This
you
is a
just press and hold
standard.
the
I
side
wonder if
button.
they'll adhere to this
It's going to
standard.
count down to let you know it's calling
Look at
911.
that.
And then you're going to be on a live call with emergency services right on your watch. And this works either as a cellular call via your iPhone.
You know what? That's a
or
compelling
directly from the
argument.
watch if you're connected to
That,
Wi-Fi.
giving it to an elder or
After
your
you're done
daughter
talking
in
on the
college,
phone
this
with
is
emergency
great.
services, the watch will automatically notify your emergency contacts. It'll send them a message. The
Although I have
message
to
also
point out
will
that
include
my Samsung phone had this, and I accidentally sent emergency messages to Lisa 4 or 5 times. She said, "Why?
After sending
What's
the message, the watch will
what's going? Are you okay?" I said,
you
no,
dead?
No, it was the button. It was.
watchOS. It has things
So you
like,
have to
for
really be
example,
careful that these don't
age,
do.
allergies,
Look at that. There's the ice information too, in
SOS
case of
works
emergency.
Not only just in the U.S., but it works internationally.
That's
So, for
fantastic.
example, you might be traveling to someplace like Hong Kong, and you might not know what the emergency number is to call.
Harrison's
But
in our chat
Apple
room says
Watch
this
does.
is human OnStar. I really like that. That's fantastic.
So
And this is what the watch needs to be: is a killer feature for each individual. Everybody has one thing that might put them over the top on the watch. And this is, I think, one for a lot.
Nothing's more idiosyncratic than a watch.
All right.
Now, one of the primary reasons people are wearing the watch today is for fitness and health. And we're enhancing the activity and workout apps, and we're adding a new app that we think you're going to love. Take a look at this. Please welcome Jay Blahnik.
So we don't know yet if we have to buy a new watch or not. For
Jay
watchOS
Blahnik, the
3.
fitness guy who came from Nike, not yet. Be
So
interesting.
we know that one of the
They
most
really just talk
popular
about consumer features now.
Yeah. Well, that's the market, isn't it?
Kevin and Stacey have
Well,
mentioned
but they're at
that many
WWDC.
people
That's not going to help move it
actually
forward.
become more
That's a good
active
point.
Because they become addicted to closing the activity rings. And we love hearing that. But we also know that many people are motivated by other things. Some people are motivated by getting support from their family and friends.
I am curious
And
about
if you're
these
like
things.
me,
Is there sort of a
you're
dress code
motivated
that
by
says
good
that if you tuck in your shirt, you will look
And we wanted to
stuffy,
make that
so leave it
possible as
untucked?
well.
I'm not even
Yes.
joking.
Oh, no,
I'm
there
thinking
is. My
that-
son is
that's-
always telling me, untuck your shirt, Dad. It's not cool.
And it couldn't be simpler.
All you have
It's
to actually generational,
To
I
the
think.
right of your own activity rings, and there you will see your selected
Tim Cook is
family
older
and
than me.
friends rings as well. Now you can sort.
Well,
by
his is
whatever
tucked in,
metric
notice.
is most important to you. So you can sort by steps, you can sort by workouts, you can even sort by
Again, I'm-
exercise.
I'm not being
CEO's tuck.
Here you'll see that I've sorted
It's
by the
it's
move
it's
ring,
it's interesting the
and I'm
level
right where
of
you expect
attention
me
to
to be.
detail
I'm
that
getting
goes
my
into
right
an event
where
of this
I'm
scale,
staying.
particularly from Apple.
I'm sure
I'm
there's a little
annihilating Jeff,
dress code
which
going on.
makes me very happy. If you want to see more details, all you do
Now,
is
is it
tap
activity
on
sharing or
anyone on your
activity
activity
shaming?
list,
Yeah.
and you'll get an
That's very
up-close
effective. I actually
Honey,
really
I
enjoy
completed
that.
my goal by
Also
11
see
a.m.
things
I get
like your daily
messages
step count
from how my friends are
and their
doing.
workouts, even
Every
from
day I get a message saying, congratulate Dr. Mom.
One of my favorite features is that
Damn
you can
her.
communicate directly with the people that you're sharing activity with right in the activity app through
But
messages.
that's through,
And when you do,
Probably My
you'll
Fitness
get smart
Pal,
replies
or
that
lose
are
it.
geared around fitness and activity. Some are supportive, some are a little more competitive,
you're going
but you can
down.
also do some fun things rings. For example, at the end of a workout, you could send your racing heart rate to one of your activity friends. Or
Yes, I am, Doctor.
Call 911 on behalf of someone else.
racing heart rate to one of your activity friends. Or you can also send smack talk in your own voice right through audio messages.
That's
So we think
making the
this is
world
gonna be a
better.
great way for you and your friends to stay motivated.
Wait, let me
Jeez.
make a note of that smack talk feature.
Now, our team has been working hard to enable features that would allow more people to use the activity and workout apps. And one group we've been thinking a lot
Steph
about
Curry's going to love
is
this one.
wheelchair users. Now,
Yay.
many wheelchair users already have an Apple Watch. And they've written us and told us that they love it because it gives them instant access to
why does that
messages.
logo-
By the way, that's a great icon for a wheelchair user. I think that's much better than the sedate, I'm sitting back in my chair.
It's actually a proposed new standard.
I love it.
But to do a
I'm
great
going
activity
places,
and
baby.
workout experience, we also recognize that we couldn't just use the same algorithms that we've used for non-wheelchair users because the biomechanics are completely different. For example, many wheelchair users use a semicircular technique when they're pushing their wheelchair throughout the day. But as the terrain changes and the speed changes, they may switch to an arc technique or a single loop over technique. And this is what makes it complicated. These are only a few of the techniques that they may use. We knew that to do this right, we'd not only have to do a lot of studies, but we would also need to enlist the help of experts. So we worked with the Challenged Athletes Foundation and the Lakeshore Foundation. These are two of the world's largest organizations that are dedicated to promoting physical fitness for people in wheelchairs. With their help, we were able to conduct the studies, and we were able to do it on a wide variety of wheelchair users, including some veterans. And now, wheelchair users will have a setting. The time to stand notifications will be changed to time to roll.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I never thought of that, but that could be kind of annoying.
There will be 2 workouts in
Wish
the
I
workout
could.
app specifically dedicated to wheelchair users. And of course, the activity rings will be optimized for wheelchair pushes. We could not be more excited about this feature, and we're incredibly thankful to our partners for helping make it possible.
Apple always in the lead on accessibility, and this is great.
And this is really tough because there is no standard. Even if you are dealing with like single leg, above the knee amputees, there's so many varieties.
Right.
It's so hard to get one solution for it works with all of them. But this is a very Apple feature. I applaud.
There's a lot more to health than just fitness. And we've been thinking way beyond that. So with watchOS, we're launching a brand new app for health. It's called Breathe. And it's designed to guide you through simple, deep breathing sessions that can help you quiet your mind,
Throw out my Spire.
relax your body,
Finally.
and just better deal with everyday stress. Now, yoga practitioners have been using deep breathing exercises for thousands of years as a way to positively impact the body
This
and
was an
mind.
activity monitor Megan and I demoed on iOS today that measured your breathing by
as a
hooking
great
onto
way
your
to
belt.
improve daily health. Dr. Deepak Chopra, one of the early advocates of body-mind medicine, has said, taking a moment every day to do some deep breathing can reduce stress, calm the body-mind, as well as have long-term health benefits. Now, to get to the app, it's easy. You can launch it from your
How
watch
does the
face.
app measure
you
it?
can launch
Well,
it
the
from
watch
dock,
measure probably
Or,
doesn't.
like the
Oh,
stand
we're about to
reminders,
see.
you can actually set smart notifications to remind you
breathe.
Yeah.
and start building this as a habit every single day.
There are third-party
Really,
apps
that-
that do stuff
Yeah,
like this. of
or
course.
just a reminders app.
Yeah.
But that's a big deal to make it part of the core operating system, and also to tie into health.
Yeah.
I would love it if they even go as far as to say not only take time out to stand, but take 5 minutes to stare at this spot on the watch
Right.
and do nothing, and let your mind wander.
Turn on the haptic feedback and gentle
Oh.
taps.
That's legitimate. That's legitimately something that I started doing like 2 or 3 years ago, and it really is. It really does help.
Get a summary.
It'd be great if it saw your heart rate going up.
From the last few
Said,
seconds.
okay, stop. Count to 10.
That's enough relaxation for you.
Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That here
This
it
is
knows
good. I
how
like
much you
this.
know what your resting heart rate is, and saying we're just.
And just one more simple
I'm
way.
when you hear the next tone, close your eyes, clear your mind. When you hear the next tone, open them again, because we know that you're now calm and relaxed.
But to your point, Andy, that this is a developers conference, right? And they're showing all the things they've done that outside developers
There's no
have
access to
already
this for developers.
done.
But nonetheless, the first 20 minutes is where everyone who is not a developer is tuning in. They'll get bored after half hour. So that's when they start dipping into, well, we've been now NTFS is now write as well as read on devices.
watch face, it benefits from all the instant launch experience that we were showing, and you get background time to update your information before someone goes and looks. And that will enable really quick interactions with your app on the watch. Now, you can already build apps that are native to watch, so you can run independent of iPhone, but we're also adding a number of new APIs that you can take advantage of when you're building apps for the watch. One of those is support now for Apple Pay within your app on the watch, so you can do purchases right there. Fitness apps will now be able to run in the background during workouts, enabling access to real-time heart rate information and motion data. And this is going to enable a whole new category of fitness apps on the watch. Also, we're enabling a much richer and expressive apps in watchOS, including support for Sprite Kit and Scene Kit, native event support from the Crown, and for touch gestures.
Yep.
You can clap, it's good.
Native Crown
Audio
events
can be
is a
embedded
big
right
deal.
inside your app UI, and you can connect across devices with Game Center and CloudKit. So we're really excited about what new apps now can be created on Watch.
I stopped using the Crown pretty much after the first week because I could swipe for everything. Now, people creating new controls that really take advantage of it, that's a big deal.
Dev preview available today. Which means that you can use this on the existing
watch. The free upgrade is coming to all Watch users this fall, and it's going to feel like a whole new watch.
Well, remember they could run with Watch Simulator and Xcode.
Thank you very much.
So free upgrade, so we don't need to buy a new
everybody
watch.
gets it. In the fall, watchOS 3.
So now to give you a look at tvOS, please welcome the one and only Eddie Q.
I got to say, I was hoping for more from watchOS. It's not transformative.
It's so hard to do big things, though, with that little device.
And Apple TV.
Oh.
Last fall, we introduced the next generation of Apple TV, and for the first time, developers had a modern platform like iOS to develop for in the living room. And we said the future of TV is apps. And the response to Apple TV has been incredible. Here is what Chris Albrecht, the CEO of Stars, had to say. tvOS has allowed Stars to create an experience on Apple TV.
This is a lot like the testimonials in favor of Trump University.
Here's what the CEO of Boombit, a very popular iOS game developer, had to say. We easily extended our iOS game experience to the living room, something that is incredibly difficult to do on traditional consoles. Please don't kill us,
because we're hoping that we'll make money here.
Last generation Apple TV had 80 video channels, and thanks to many of you, we now have over 1,300 video channels.
Wow. Now it's starting to rival Roku.
And we have over 6,000 native apps in just 7 months. And I've got some new apps to tell you about. First, Sling, which offers a great selection of live cable channels, is coming to Apple TV today.
This is over-the-top TV.
Yeah, this isn't Sling Box. This is
Sling is a subscription service. Yeah.
Cable channels without cable subscriptions.
ESPN, Disney,
TCM, Food Network, Lifetime.
Molotov, a revolutionary new TV service in France with over 100 live channels, video on demand, exclusively on iOS and Apple TV, coming next month. Great sports games like NBA 2K, adventure games like Minecraft Story Mode, and Sketch Party. You use your iPhone or iPad to draw, and then you sit around the TV to guess. It's a lot of fun to do this with your group of friends.
Pictionary.
Now, we've got great updates to tell you about for
getting high off the markers.
Let me start with the Apple TV remote app.
Okay, so we saw a Siri
comes with
icon.
An incredible Siri remote. It uses touch for navigation, Siri to tell it what you want to watch, and motion to play games. But a lot of our customers have told us that they would love an app on their iPhone that had all those same capabilities. And so we're making a new version of the remote app. This is what it looks like. It's got a beautiful now playing screen with playback controls, but most importantly, all the features of the Siri remote. You have touch for navigation, Siri to give it commands, and it uses the accelerometer and gyroscope to play games.
We've heard our customers say that the remote we give them kind of sucks.
With the keyboard. Next.
The Apple TV remote really is
Let's talk about Siri.
terrible.
Siri changed the way we interact with our television.
Anything that could
I bought a Chinese knockoff $30 TV box that came with a much better remote.
Because now you can search movies by topics. Now, my daughter is actually going to high school this fall, and I remember back when I went to high school, it's been a while, there's some great movies that I'd love to watch with her. And now Siri makes this really easy because I can just say, find high school comedies from the 80s. I'm sorry. We'll do that one again.
His
Find
poor
high
daughter.
school comedies from the 80s. And there are some of my favorites. I actually have watched them all. Let's take a look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And with just one tap, we can start watching.
Was there a little peek behind the curtain there that Ferris Bueller Day Off came up before he actually finished that? I think that this might be a staged slideshow.
I don't know. It's possible that they'd done a demo and it was already cached.
There. Okay.
We'll try it. Oh, well, we probably don't have the update yet.
Now the question is, do people want to? Are people going to do searches from a keyboard or via Siri?
I use that Siri search feature all the time.
I do.
It's of middling use because sometimes it doesn't find stuff.
Yeah, no, I'll ask what are good movies for tweens, and it will show rated R movies for me. I mean, it doesn't work.
But I use it, and I continue to use it. You know, if I know I want to see a movie, I'll very frequently just ask Siri for the movie, and 8 times out of 10 it'll find the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Taken straight to
Oh, that's nice. That I would use. Live tuning, you just say, watch ESPN, it knows that it's on this app, and it knows it has a live
It'd
feed.
have to know your cable provider. It'd have to have an interface, right?
Well, no.
Great channels, and we're making
Oh, it has to have these channels.
I assume.
both your
Yeah.
iPad and Apple TV
So this
as well.
searches across all existing apps.
I assume it's within like the CBS app.
To be honest,
Right.
when you go in and
Oh,
you
I
CBS,
see.
CBS News are different apps, for instance. I'm seeing up here.
something like this.
Yes.
And you've got to go find a browser, authenticate with a code.
Yeah, but it's better than entering my password on the
authenticate to your
TV.
TV provider. Well, we're going to make this change a little bit.
Okay.
But it's worse because you got to do it for each and every app.
Yeah,
And now we're going to make it all go away with a feature we call single sign-up.
that will be nice.
Yay.
And I'm sure the providers prefer that too, because they'd like to ease the onboarding of new users.
Sign in once on your Apple TV and you get access
but I
to
gotta
all
use
of
that
your network
damn
apps. And
horrible
we make it
on-screen
even better.
keyboard.
A page on the App Store will show you all of the apps that you now have access to.
At least I only have
And
to do
of
it
course,
once.
We're bringing this to iOS as well. Now, in addition to single sign-on, we've got some other great updates. Now, Apple
course,
TV looks beautiful, but there are times where you wish it was darker because you're in a home theater or a dark room. And now that's really easy because you can just switch to
That's
dark
a good
mode.
improvement. Minor improvement, but a good
What a
improvement.
nice tweak.
Yeah.
And we want to make it even easier for customers to get your apps. And so just like when you download an app on your iPhone, it automatically downloads to your Apple TV, it now automatically downloads to your Apple TV. And this is really great, and I'm going to show you. So I get the Major League Baseball app on my iPhone, you do nothing, and there it is right on your Apple TV.
That's great. Cross-installing.
Yeah, because now before you had to
Now,
go
there's
to
never been a
purchase
better
and then
time
download it
for
again.
to
And
build apps for the big screen, and we've got some great new features for you as well. First of all, Replay Kit, where you can live broadcast your gameplay or save the video to share it later. We've got Photo Kit, gives you access to your complete iCloud photo library, all the videos, all the photos. And of course, HomeKit, where you can create apps to control all the devices at home. And that's just some of the many features. We've got things like support for 4 game controllers,
Screenshot,
multiplayer game
screenshot,
sessions, and a
screenshot.
lot more. And that is a quick update to the TV OS.
they're moving this
New
along.
Apple TV remote app, great Siri enhancements with topic search, YouTube, and live tune-in.
So they've gone through 2 of the 4
Obviously, single
platforms in
sign-on,
half
so
an
now you
hour.
get access to all your network apps,
The new
great tools
the new
for
developer platforms that have just been around for less than a year.
All of you will get a developer preview today. I can't wait to see all of the apps that you start building, and our customers will get it this fall, and that is tvOS.
That is Eddie Q.
Now, to talk to you about OS 10, here is Craig Federici.
Good morning.
One of us. One of us.
Good morning. It's great to be back at WWDC to talk to you about OS 10. And of course, no presentation at WWDC about OS 10 would be complete without some kind of naming controversy. Now, I'm not talking about some allegedly baked members of our marketing team going on some kind of vision quest around California looking for a special name.
Yosemite.
Allegedly
I'm actually talking
baked?
about the name OS 10 itself.
That's a
You know,
callback
OS
to
10
Google
has
I/O.
been with us as a name for over 15 years.
Oh, I get it.
And it served us so well. But as we look at it alongside its younger brethren, something sticks out.
Oh, here's the renaming.
We realize that there's a name that would be so
OS
much
10 is untucking
clearer
its shirt.
and
Oh, wait,
so much
break a
more
second.
elegant. And so
Mac
we're
OS.
making it so. The name
This was rumored.
of the world's most advanced desktop operating system is now Mac OS.
And then eliminating the California landmark code names probably, right? Or no? So Mac OS 2016, or how do they do that?
Now, of course, each version of Mac OS does have a special name after a place that's especially important to us here in California. And this year's Mac OS is no different.
Well, there, keep
but the
that
choice this time was obvious. Our latest, newest OS 10 is Mac OS
nice.
Sierra.
Good name.
Well, you can even get online with your Mac and have Sierra Online.
Now, Sierra is a fantastic new release.
That's a joke for you people over 40.
It's focused on continuity, the iCloud, and the fundamentals of the Mac experience. I want to start with continuity, because continuity is like magic. Your devices are able to sense themselves around you and use secure peer-to-peer wireless protocols to enable you to move from one task to another across your devices just seamlessly. Well, we wanted to take on this year one task that we all do many times a day, every time we start using our Macs. And that feature is called Auto Unlock. So,
And rumors about this as well.
today, when you first approach your Mac to use it, the experience is something like this. You open it up, you're confronted with a password field, and then you type, and then maybe mistype, and then retype your password, and then you're in and using your Mac. But you know, for many of us, we already have a device securely authenticated to our wrists that already knows who we are and could tell our Mac. And so then, when we opened our Mac, it could be a little bit more like this. And we're in. It's that simple.
Have to be an Apple device,
We made this really secure using time-of-flight networking to make sure it's you who's that close to the machine who's unlocking it. So it's really great. Now, the next continuity feature in macOS Sierra is Universal Clipboard. Now,
nice.
Wow, gasp. So,
I love how excited people get about Universal Clipboard.
It's such a source of pain for 20 years, man.
So many years now. But what if when you were on even your iPhone and you found some text and you just went to copy it, that when you then went to your Mac, well, you could just paste it right in. And now you can. With images, video, everything, it's completely automatic. Now I'd like to move on to iCloud, and specifically iCloud
I don't have to
Drive.
deal with collisions, though.
Now, today with iCloud Drive,
I don't want you to clear my Mac clipboard.
into your iCloud Drive that you explicitly want to make available to you across your other systems, as well as your iOS devices. And customers have done quite a bit of this. There are actually 10 billion customer documents in iCloud Drive today. But we want to take this a step further. We want all of your documents and your desktop accessible to you everywhere, so that when you're on one Mac, maybe you're putting things in your normal documents folder. Well, of course, those should be available to you on your other Macs. But you know, for 30 years now, we've all learned to do the work, the things that we're working on right now. Well, where do we put those? So often it's on our desktop. So let's make our desktop available on our other Macs as well, and have those files be available to us on the go on our iPhones. Now you can.
So this is kind of what they do with Safari now, but they'll do it with your Finder as well. Is that it?
Next up, optimized storage. You know, we love using our Macs.
Desktop is just a folder.
So much stuff, but you can end up with a situation like this. And you know, what do you do about it? Well, it turns out we're going to give you a solution, and it works in two ways. First,
This is how
it
they
helps you
solved the
make
photo
room
problem
for
on
the
the
files
iPhones.
that your new files by keeping your older ones
Oh,
up in the cloud.
I do not trust Apple to decide that a file can be deleted from my Mac. Let's hear them.
In iTunes or even those old mail attachments, we can clear off that space.
This is as with the iPhotos on the phone for the rest of us. This is for not for sophisticated
get rid of
users.
files.
Safari web cache and maybe the trash that you keep forgetting to
temp
empty.
files, right?
Redundant data that's stored by mail. Well, we can get rid of all of that as well. And we provide a really simple user interface to help you do it. Now, As a test, we took a system that was nearly full. It had about, let's say, 20 gigs free, and we put it through the paces. Now,
This is
it had
the
a
it
lot
just
of
works
photos
philosophy,
and a lot
right?
of
But you have to trust
It
them.
had movies that were
It also fits in with their security mandate. They're saying that we're going to remove all the cache files that forensics and other people might use to get information.
20 gigs free to 150 gigs free. So we think this is going to make a big difference for all of you. Next, Apple Pay. So we all love using Apple Pay in stores to pay with our phones and our Apple Watch at the cash register, and to shop inside apps on our iOS devices. So of course, we wanted to bring this experience to the Mac. We thought long and hard about exactly the right way to do it, and I think we've nailed it.
That's funny.
But what kind of bands are available for it, though?
They're showing a young woman with her 5K iMac in a store trying to
No, this is not
use
how
Apple
people are
Pay.
going to shop on their Macs, right? We shop online, on the web, in Safari. And so what are we doing?
They're smart to
We're
double
bringing
down on
Apple
stuff like
Pay
this.
to the web.
Yeah.
So now, when you're shopping online, you'll have a Pay with Apple Pay button available to you. When you click it, a sheet comes down and actually prompts you to securely authenticate your purchase using continuity right on your iPhone with Touch ID.
If you don't have an iPhone, you might not appreciate this feature. This really begs for a fingerprint reader on the
With your Apple Watch as well.
on the new
So
Macs.
authenticate with just a tap on
That's
your
super
wrist.
non-trivial to do it as securely.
Already many merchants are signed up
Is
to
it?
bring
Remember that on the iPhone, it's actually part of the CPU, the trusted zone that no one can break into.
Well, they'd have to obviously put that on a Mac.
They could do that, but it's not like
Right.
they can't do it the way that other Windows machines have done it.
Right.
If you didn't have an iPhone, would you be using Apple Pay before anyway?
And Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I guess not, right?
Next,
Yeah.
I want
So
to move to part of the Mac experience, and that's tabs. You know, many of us love using tabs to take a mess of windows that we have in Safari and
It's more
get them
locked
neatly
into the
organized
ecosystem.
and tabs
Yeah,
set.
that's what bothers me about a lot of this stuff.
We want to bring that.
It's not a
to
big
all of your
idea. It's just,
multi-windowed apps.
okay.
So maybe you have multiple windows open.
Oh,
in
well,
apps.
it helps you
organize
justify the
those in
$650 you spend for an
Because it's
iPhone.
built into
Right.
the system, you can do that for third-party apps as
it's
well.
a sensible point of view, though, that you have a now portable computer and you have a home computer, and they should clearly know about each other.
Yeah, and since if you already have an iPhone, why shouldn't we help you to make that iPhone and that watch make your Mac more productive?
Right.
Authentication just by proximity to an Apple Watch is a cool thing.
We love watching video on the web, but sometimes we like to keep track of a video while we're doing other work.
It works great on
Well, now
my
you can.
on my
Press the
Android
picture in
devices.
Picture button. Your video goes into a nice little pip. You can move it around the screen, and it works.
This is, of course, an
great
iPhone
in
feature
full
they bring into
screen
the
as
desktop.
well.
I think that's a common use, actually, of desktop computers. People often do that. Yeah.
So these are seven
us, I think.
great features in
But-
macOS Sierra. But there is one more. And this year, I'd like to take the unusual step of letting this feature introduce itself.
Siri.
Hi, it's me. It sure is great to be on the Mac. How about a demo?
That's right. Siri is coming to the Mac.
I have mixed feelings on this. I have Cortana, of course, on my Windows 10 machines, and I very rarely talk to my computer.
Yeah, we're not used to it.
Yeah, but maybe we could. Yeah, and of
Yeah.
course, Google's
So
been able to
we
do this
have
in Chrome for some time.
macOS Sierra right here. And the first thing you'll notice is
Wish
right
wish
here
they had said, "Let me out of this bag." That would have been nice.
Yeah. It sure is good to be out of
this
this.
bag.
say, how do you like being on a Mac?
Pretty awesome. Lots of space, aluminum unibody walls, and no complaint about the lack of windows.
So, so it's the same Siri that we know and love. but
Snarky?
Now on the Mac, it can do so much more. Things like
Daddy, there's a snarky lady in my
queries
computer.
for files, like show the files I worked on last week about the offsite.
Oh, that's nice.
Have I ever told you your filing is so stylin'?
So
Oh,
we
I
have
hope they're gonna
my
let us
search
turn
results.
that
What's
off.
really incredible is I can
That's
refine
Bob.
a sophisticated query with a follow-on, like just the ones Ken sent me that I tagged with draft.
For your filing pleasure.
Oh,
So you see,
no.
I have just
Oh,
the
no.
files I'm looking for right there. But what's great is this is a useful result that I may want to use throughout the day as I work. So I can actually click on this plus button and pin it right here into my notification center. And yeah, it's really great. And this works for lots of your Siri results.
I love the search functionality. I hate the snark.
So
I'm sure that's either just for the demo or something you can turn on.
I hope there's a snark slider.
Here, I'll take this one full screen.
That'll be next year. And a new feature.
I hope that also works in Spotlight.
Play my Power Ballads playlist.
I wouldn't necessarily want to speak everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Siri to the rescue
Tom
with
Sawyer.
some awesome tunes.
Little Rush.
I can let this play all day, but we'll get on with the demo. So I can actually use my Siri results here to help me complete this presentation. So I have an image result here for slacklining. Let me just click in my Siri result, drag it right into my presentation. And
That's
I can also have Siri search the web for me. So let's do,
it's sort of like the old scrapbook.
Search the web for pictures
Oh yeah,
of
scrapbook.
falconry.
Here are some images of falconry I found on the web.
Okay, that looks
You
like some
dumb
good fun.
bird.
So I can actually take the results right out of Siri and drag them into my document. It's pretty epic.
So that is Spotlight, isn't it, Andy? I mean, it's just Spotlight with a voice.
Yeah, but let's see them demonstrate that you can actually access it from the Siri, the Spotlight pop-up.
Oh, you see, I see. You want it without the voice.
I want the ability to, if like I'm in a big office, I don't want people to have like 100 people or people hearing me say what I'm working on. It's not just privacy; it's just I don't want to, be doing that.
Just like that. Okay, that looks like just the drawing I want. But of course, I'd like to now
Is the
get it
microphone
on my
always
Mac.
on?
So how do I do that?
He's touching a button to activate it.
Why don't I just copy it? But I'm not just copying it to my iPad, because when I return to my Mac, I can paste it just like I would anything else. Actually wirelessly transfers it automatically.
That is pretty fantastic. Again, ecosystem lock-in, but as long as you've got an iPad, an iPhone, and an iMac, you might as well tie it all together.
When it's bad, it's lock-in. When it's good, it's just synchronicity.
Right.
I spent $1,000 on this iPad. It should be working as a tablet for my Mac.
Maybe we should just see a movie.
Here's your message. Ready to send it?
I like this stuff. I really do like this.
Sent.
So I can use Siri, of course, to do messaging at any time, and it can also help me find that movie. What new movies are playing this Friday?
I found 8 movies playing on Friday.
Now, Megan, this is where you want them to say, and we've opened the API, so any developer can use
the trailer. But I can also drop right here into picture.
Instead, they said no developer adoption required, which is probably not the message you want to give developers.
Reposition the pip window to any corner. And
that seems like so basic, but that's going to make things so much nicer.
Look at that.
Having a floating window for video. That's just a standard object that developers can just pop up. It annoys me when I have like my Sling Player app, and I have to make it a window and then scale down the window so that I'm hiding things.
Right.
And then I click in front of it.
You see a Buy with Apple Pay button. So watch what happens when I click Buy with Apple Pay. I'm prompted to confirm here on my iPhone. I just use Touch ID with my fingerprint, and I can securely authenticate my transaction just like that. And that's a quick look at macOS.
I think all very good, exciting features in Sierra, and I presume this fall.
Great features
Let's
for
see.
continuity, the cloud, Apple Pay, user experience, and of course Siri. And there's much more that you'll be hearing about later today. Now, Sierra is available to you developers in developer preview form today, and we're doing a public beta in July. You can sign up now at beta.apple.com, and it'll be available to everyone else in the fall across all of these systems. That is your update on macOS.
Well, that went by quick. What systems?
Did I see MacBook Air in there?
It's got to be, right?
Next,
Went by
let's
super
turn to
fast.
iOS. So iOS, we're hitting a big milestone because now I'm pleased to introduce iOS 10.
Big boy iOS.
Doesn't get an X?
iOS 10 is a huge release for developers, and it is the biggest iOS release ever for our users. Now, there are 10 big features I want to talk about today, and let's start off with number 1, that's user experience. Now, in iOS 10, we've redesigned the experience of the lock screen. with rich notifications that give you quick interaction with apps through the expanded use of 3D Touch. But rather than just talk about it, how about I just show it to you right now? Let's do a demo. Now, one thing a lot of us have noticed now that we have our iPhone 6Ss with the incredibly fast Touch ID sensor is that we can just blow past our notifications on our lock screen. We never even get to see them. And so in iOS 10, we have a great solution. It's called Raise to Wake, and it lets you see what's on your lock screen without ever touching a button. Let me show it to you now. I just raise my wrist, and my phone wakes up just like that. Now, the first thing you'll notice is these beautiful notifications are no longer causing us to darken your wallpaper, so you get to look at that. But what's more important is they're really interactive through 3D Touch. So for instance, with this calendar notification, I can just 3D Touch on it, and I can jump right in and get all this rich detail about this invitation. I can see my calendar, and I can accept it right here. Now, this is especially great with messages. Let's 3D Touch into that one. And here you see, I see the message that was sent to me. I can respond right here, the keyboard. But what's great is I can stay in the conversation right here on the lock screen and even get rich responses like images right in line. And this works really well with third-party apps as well. So for instance, if I get a notification from Uber, I can just press in, and I get this completely interactive and animated live status update.
They need to do something with 3D Touch. It's a lot of promise unfulfilled. So this
really
is
great.
But this is a big deal.
Now, of course, as always,
So many times you're taking your phone out of your pocket not to get anything done, but to simply act on something.
Yeah.
with 3D Touch,
So this allows you to just, again, where's my Uber? There it is.
clear
Great.
them all with a tap. It's really
Finally, I can don't have to click that little tiny X.
Yeah.
Now, Control Center is available from the bottom of the screen as well. We can just swipe up from the bottom. You see, it's beautifully redesigned, gives me great access to all my controls. But if I swipe over, you see,
But it
we
doesn't
have
look like
a
the Watch
special
Control
area
Center
for our
anymore.
music with nice big controls and beautiful album art right
That's
there.
nice. That is good.
So someone else could lift your phone and respond to your messages as well.
Oh shucks.
Well, no, that's why you're wearing your watch. It's automatically.
The watch makes a difference.
And it's
I'm guessing.
easy to take a picture of my demo notes right there. That's good. And we've made it easier than ever to get at your widgets. Just slide over the other way. You can see I have my weather, I have my calendar, I get my news, top stories. And you notice these widgets have the ability for me to get more information. So I can
Craig's really
show more
the humor master on
and
this one.
see the
Two
rest of
jokes
my
now.
day. You'd like to
Two
think.
visual jokes.
And I can even get more information right here from apps on my home screen. So for instance, it looks like I have a decent number of unread email messages. And now, if I 3D touch there, I can see who it is I've
that's
been
great.
ignoring this whole time, my VIPs. Now,
Tim
if I
Cook,
swipe
28
over here,
messages.
I can also get great information on activity without even launching the app. I just 3D touch in and get a look at my rings. And this can work really well with third-party apps as well. So I'm going to jump into ESPN, can see information about my latest team.
That's nice.
And if I want that widget available to me at all
Of course,
times
he'll be at the
on my
Warriors
Today
game tonight.
I can just add that widget like that, and I go over to my Today view, and there it is. And I can get that show more
It's Eddie
information.
Q who's always
I get a
visible in that.
graphical update on the highlights from the last game, and if I tap in, live action.
Oh, nice.
Curry fakes, puts up a three. Bang!
Bang.
Bang!
Curry from downtown. It's a 10-point game.
Oh yeah. So that is a quick look at
A lot of it is really about making Springboard less relevant.
in iOS 10.
Why would you want to launch an app when we're going
Right.
to take the data you're going to get and just put it right there?
That's
You're
where
on
people
Today.
are. That's where it's going, and they're smart to do that. Yeah.
And the
This is a
iPad
really smart,
as well.
really nice
Next,
evolution.
number 2, Siri. Huge part of the
Can't
user experience.
update or
in
improve
iOS.
Springboard. Just
Now, Siri services
Eliminate it.
over 2 billion
Age it out.
requests a week from customers. And there's so many things that you can ask Siri. But now in iOS 10, Siri's going to be able to do so much more because we're opening up Siri to
there you go.
developers.
that's what Megan was hoping
My
for.
hopes and dreams. I willed it with my hopes and
You
dreams,
did.
I think.
You did. You made it so. Well, we are living in a simulation, and you have some control of it.
Right.
Now you'll be able to ask Siri things like, Send a WeChat to Nancy saying, I'll be 5 minutes late, and Siri can summon up the WeChat UI right inside of the
this is
Siri
this is instant apps
Now, of
from
course, Siri,
Android.
because it understands the domains of things like messaging.
This is
allows you to say
exactly
things
what
in so
Google
many
announced
different
2 weeks
ways. I could
ago.
have said, WeChat Nancy that I'll be 5 minutes late, or I need to send a message to Nancy via WeChat saying I'll be 5 minutes late.
That's great.
And I could do that in all sorts of different languages. But because now in iOS 10, we have an intense API, it allows Siri to take on that part of the work and lets the extension do what it does best, like messaging. And so now we support messaging with apps like Slack and WhatsApp, and of course WeChat. You can do things like ride booking in Siri with services like Uber, Lyft, and Didi in China. Photo search in apps like IM, Shutterfly, and Pinterest. And you can pause and stop your workouts in apps like Map My Run, Runtastic, and Runkeeper. And even do payments to send money to friends with things like Number 26, Square Cash, and Alipay in China. And do VoIP calling through apps like Cisco Spark, Vonage, and Skype. And it works great in the car as well, because with CarPlay, you can now safely
clearly been working
send
hard on this.
your messages, as well as make VoIP calls.
These are updates
all inside
we've been
the
begging
CarPlay
for
environment with your favorite
years.
apps. And that's a quick update on Siri.
Including features that the original Siri had but lost when Apple bought them.
That also makes an integration between the Mac experience and the iOS experience. Notice you see the same kind of cards in the notification center in the Mac as you saw here on Today.
To the keyboard. So today, QuickType is able to use context to help predict what words you might type next. Well, now we're using deep learning and a technique specifically called LSTMs to enable much more intelligence in longer context, so we can tell the difference between the Orioles are playing in the playoffs and the children are playing in the park automatically. And Siri can help you do responses more intelligently than ever. So you might get asked, where are you? Well, Siri can suggest right there on the suggestion bar that you supply your current location.
That's great.
Tap it, and you can get your location with a map right into your transcript. And people might ask you about contact information for a friend. Well, Siri can automatically offer up the most relevant contacts. Now, right locally on your device, Siri has information about what you've been doing, and so it can extract information from a message that maybe says, oh, you're talking about dim sum at 11 a.m. on Sunday.
This is where they tread carefully. They don't want to go into that Google creepy line.
With things like,
But he did mention
on your phone.
Siri has information right on your device.
Right.
Locally.
And Siri does so much more. Can check your calendar availability for you
That's no
automatically.
accident they said that.
Of course, he didn't say explicitly this all happens on the device, but
based on addresses you were browsing.
Well, and I doubt it
other,
does, to be
apps.
honest.
It can help you
exactly
look up
so.
terms
But
that
he wants to
recognizes things
he
like
wants to at least.
movies
I think
and
Apple would want to put that
restaurants.
information
One
out
tap, you
there.
can get more information. And Siri now, the QuickType keyboard supports multilingual typing. So if you like typing alternating maybe between English and Spanish or
I
Italian,
have to wonder if
you don't
Apple
have to
didn't
switch
send a signal to
keyboards.
Google
QuickType
not
can
to
follow
put
you automatically.
voice into their Gboard for this exact reason.
Oh,
That's
right.
QuickType. Next, number 4
Yeah.
is Photos.
So there's definitely
Now,
something missing from the Google keyboard.
Yeah, they
when
had to hold
released it
something
a
back.
month ago.
On our cameras, on our iPhones. They're so great. And with iCloud Photo Library, we have those photos with us across all
Let's show
of
you
our
that
devices.
synchronicity. This sounds a lot very similar to what Google was showing off last month.
Find and experience the photos
And
that
Apple
you've
certainly
taken.
wasn't copying off of
No,
Google
no.
or vice
Yeah,
versa.
clearly not, yeah.
So now we let you see all of your photos on a map. It's a
It's
great
the
way to relive a trip, for
post-app
instance.
world we've
The
been
big
heading
news in
to,
photos
and
this
I
year
think this is what we
is
want.
Advanced computer vision. We're applying advanced deep learning techniques to bring facial recognition to the iPhone. And it's all done locally on device, taking advantage of the power of the
Phone or
advanced
Siri
silicon
becomes our
in all of
agent
our
interacting
iOS
with all the
devices.
capabilities we've
All
added
of
to
your
the phone,
most important
rather than us having to
people
seek through them
automatically
and
built into people
activate
albums
them.
for you automatically, and all done with your privacy
It's just
protected.
obvious, I guess.
Now, we're applying the same kind of technology with deep learning to object and scene recognition as well. In fact, we do 11 billion computations per photo to be able to detect things
Yeah,
like
that's
there's a
not
horse,
done on your
there's
phone.
water,
I'm
there's a
sorry.
mountain, and
That's done
with
on the
it, we do
server.
really powerful searching.
It's done on your phone and your
device.
battery lasts 15 minutes.
But you know, sometimes the magic and experience in your photos isn't just about finding a photo that you know you're looking for. It's about being reminded serendipitously of a memory that would be so special.
Again, the nice feature of Google Photos.
Right. They'll never be smarter than Google Photos, but they might be more private.
Across your entire photo library, all done locally on device, to cluster together photos
all done
and
locally
relate
on
them
device.
based on location, the people involved, the scenes. And out of this, be able to surface memories that would be most relevant to you at any given
So this
moment.
is something we're going to have to look
We can
into,
bring
is how much of
forward
this is on
things
device,
like
how much of this
trips.
is on
We
server.
can spot trips that might be important to you. We can figure out that you might want to
This
see
is done on the
photos
device,
of a
is
highlight
interesting.
reel of the last weekend or the last year and offer those to you at just the right time. We can bring forward memories of people that are special to you.
Are all your photos on your device?
And
I think this is done on the device. Why
they're
does he
thinking
say
their own-
that?
for instance, when you're on the water, at the beach.
Your photos are on the cloud, right? It's moved your photos off the
They're talking
device.
Survey over time.
They're talking about
Most
personal information, though.
importantly, we pull these together into an intuitive user interface that makes these so engaging. And I'd like to show you that experience now.
It really does feel like Apple's version of Google Photos here.
Yeah. And then, of course, they're going to try to say we're not doing it in a
So let's
creepy
take a
fashion.
look
We're protecting
at
your privacy
photos.
while we do it. But I think we have to
This is a
investigate
photo
that more.
album here of a family,
closely.
but what you'll notice at the bottom is this new tab called Memories. Let's take a look. So we can see here there are a number of memories that have been offered up into this memories feed. And at the top, there's a vacation that the system has spotted where the family took a trip to Tahoe City.
Might also keep people off of Facebook. Facebook is also doing, hey, here's where you met this person 2 years ago. Let's relive this year.
But that's the point, is the strength of these kinds of tools
Right.
depend on connections, interconnections, and the cloud. If you only did this with photos on your phone, it'd be much more limited.
Into these highlights.
Well, it could be just... Go ahead, sorry.
Well, we're already used to having our photos in iCloud. Like, that's not something that people...
But Facebook's Moments,
And
will
Facebook
notice
is the
that
world's...
you're in my pictures and say, hey, you want to share these with Megan? That's not clearly something this can't do. Unless...
other memories I might want to see related to this one. And it's really smart. So you see that the Santa Cruz and 4th of July memories, well, Grandma and Grandpa were both on the trip in Tahoe City.
This is the challenge for Apple. They're unwilling to step into our private data in the way Google is. How do they match these features?
Well, they can do it securely and privately. It is an interesting... We're really going to have to dissect the language here, because on the one hand, Apple's consistently been saying, oh, well, of course, we will remove photos from the device that you're not looking at and put them safely in the cloud. But they're certainly not saying that we're going to have 8 years worth of photos and also facial recognition and scene recognition on this device.
Well, and Kashmir Hill mentioned this yesterday. She says this is the opportunity for Apple to say, and by the way, we're going to give you sole access to your iCloud data. Currently, Apple has access to that data. And if they're going to do something like this, then they want to also say, oh, and by the way, your iCloud is trust no one encrypted. Only you can access your iCloud data. We cannot, which means we cannot any longer give it to law enforcement.
Yeah. But yeah, see, this is Google Photos.
Yeah, very much. And it's nice. Better slideshow, frankly.
Yeah. Well, this demo is nice, but I wonder if you can access it through the web.
But then you'd have to have it on the cloud.
Yeah. But I'm not going to mail my phone to my parents. They can see their grandkids.
Doing analysis of just the right parts of the video to include, the right photos, and it's editing them together with the right mood and with the right music. Now, when you have a memory like this, you often want to share it. And sometimes you might want to make it a little shorter, say, for sharing. So I can just use this slider at the bottom and say I'd like it to be shorter.
Nice.
And maybe I want to change the mood a little bit. You notice there's a mood slider just up above there. And that was a pretty great snowball fight. So I'll pick Epic. And based on these changes, it's going to completely re-edit the movie to new music.
This is something
Let's take a
HTC
look.
did with its Zoes about 3 or 4 years ago. It's epic.
Does it have a Michael Bay filter with all like 3 seconds and explosions?
This is awesome, though. I mean, this is very similar to what the Zoes were. And the problem, I mean, they were cool. I sent them out a few times. But
And that's a quick look
It quickly becomes obvious this was edited on an iPhone automatically.
On your iPhone, and it's great on your iPad as well. And Mac gets many of these new features as well. The great new face recognition engine, scene and object recognition search, and the ability to browse photo and video galleries of your memories. And the Apple TV is just such a great way to experience those memory movies on the biggest screen in your house. So that.
And Apple's position has always been your iCloud's secure,
and
it's always been clear it's not.
In all of our biggest services here at Apple, and to do that, I'm going to bring up for number 5,
here's their
6,
opportunity.
and 7, Eddie Q, back to the stage. Eddie.
If I'm going to trust anybody to protect my stuff, it's Eddie Q.
I love the new photos. Can't wait to do it. So let's get started with maps. Now, last year, we introduced Nearby, a great way to find places and transit with an incredible amount of detail, including all the entrances and exits from every station. But for iOS 10, we've got an all-new design for maps. It starts with making it easy to access controls and details on locations. And we're making maps do more for you in advance. It's more proactive. So you slide up from the bottom and you can see suggestions. Maps knows that usually at this time, I usually go to work. Or it can look at a calendar event and find a location. It also gives you convenient ways to filter down on the places you might want to go. For example, let's take a look at restaurants nearby. But we're in San Francisco. I feel like seafood, so I can slide across the bottom, and now I can see all the seafood restaurants right in San Francisco. Now, we're applying all of these new designs to navigation as well. So you get more information, it makes it easier to follow and control, and we even include traffic en route. Now, when you're driving, it'll automatically zoom in, and as you get to a long straightaway, it'll automatically zoom back out. And you can even pan and zoom way further ahead to see what the traffic conditions are. Now, we give you quick controls to let you see route details, so now you can even look and see on your route where food or gas stations are, and maps will tell you how much longer it'll take if you go to any one of those.
Yep.
And of course, we're making this available on CarPlay. And if there's a lot of traffic ahead, Maps will proactively give you alternate routes and tell you how much time it'll save. And we're making it safer to follow directions while keeping your eyes on the road, because now you can get turn by turn right in the instrument cluster of your car. Now, we think you're going to love these updates, but there's more, because we are opening Maps up to developers.
Yeah.
Now, with map extensions, you can enable all new capabilities in Maps. For example, you can make a reservation using a popular app like OpenTable. You pick the number of people, the time, right inside of Maps. And because these are extensions, they're open to all.
How likely is it, do you think, Andy, that developers will jump on these APIs and take advantage?
Believe me, like, OpenTable wants this. The problem is, how do you get someone to leave the app they're in and launch your app?
Right.
So the ability to simply make it all one experience, especially in Siri, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's not revolutionary, but the right developers are going to love this.
Yeah, it's super helpful. Like, we use Team Snap for my daughter's soccer game, and it, like, you know, everybody else is already open, so I don't use Maps. I use whatever map, whatever's already in the app.
Yeah. Particularly if you could have, like, add to Maps the ability to, here is an actual circle that represents, here is where my kids are right now, or here's where my 3 friends are that I'm supposed to be meeting somewhere here in Boston on the 4th of July. Of course, we don't know if it's that rich, but that's... Apple is allowing other people to make their software more awesome, which is the fastest way to make anything awesome.
Music. So Apple Music lets you play from millions of songs, thousands of playlists curated by our team of experts, and it's been an incredible year. We now have over 15 million paid subscribers.
Incredible. I couldn't have believed it.
Service ever in its first year. And we've learned a lot along the way, and so today, we've got an all-new Apple Music redesigned from the ground up. We want to give greater clarity and simplicity to every aspect of Apple Music, and here's what it looks like. It has a beautiful...
There you go.
It has a beautiful new design language that allows the music to be the hero. Nothing shows this more than Now Playing.
See, this does a good job of addressing what I don't like about iOS. Too much like thin text on white, so you don't know what it's telling you.
To create a new music app that's both more intuitive and familiar. And now, to give you a demo of it, I'd like to invite up Bozma St. John.
You're watching our live coverage of course, the WWDC 2016 keynote.
All right.
Seeing a lot of women give me the demos.
Yeah, I'm
this
glad
is
to see
great.
that.
Apple Music.
And a little diversity here, too.
People listen to their music from their library. So now, when we open up the Music app, you'll see that the first tab is the library. People also have huge music libraries. So now it's easier to navigate with simple sections like playlists, artists, albums, songs, and now a new section called Downloaded Music.
There you go.
When I tap onto Downloaded Music, you'll see that this is where all of the music which is on my iPhone sits. Now,
making it really clear the difference between cloud and local device.
Because I'm flying all over the place.
Yeah, you need to do that.
And now it really makes it easy for me to see all the music that's on my iPhone. There's also the recently added section, and this includes the albums, songs, and playlists that I've recently added to my library. You'll see that there's tons of awesome music here, like this classic, the Sugar Hill Gang, and it kind of feels appropriate to get this party started with a little bit of rap
hippie, hip hop, you don't stop rocking the bam bam boogie, boogie the boogie.
Come on, y'all.
Now, what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat, and me, the group, and my friends are going to try to move your feet. Now, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and the yellow, because we've got a bang, bang, a boogie to the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, say rock. You don't stop. Got the rhythm that make your body stop. Now, so far, you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. The next on the mic is my man, Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Yes.
Okay, he's proven he has memorized Rapper's Delight.
Hey, I grew up in the 80s.
The controls, and now their lyrics. So come on, we're gonna rap. Let's go.
Did I lie?
Come on,
You did not lie. They need Andy Anako. I like the lyrics. I think that's great. Is that a new feature? Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
We're gonna pause this, okay? Because some of you guys are not rapping to the beat, okay?
I was.
But you'll have plenty of time on your own to study the
I was
lyrics,
pre-rapping
okay?
to the beat.
All right. Let's go to the next tab.
She's great. I love this. This is a great
Love
presentation.
for you. It's my favorite part of Apple Music. And you know why?
Why?
Because it's all about me. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Yes.
So now you'll see that at the top of For You, there's a discovery mix. Now this contains the songs that have been picked just for me, so I can discover new artists and new music.
This is something
There's also
Spotify does very well.
Played, like we just listened to the Sugar Hill Gang, so it's right there. I can navigate
But Apple
easily
should
to
do
it.
even better, I would think.
And daily curated playlists. Now it's Monday.
Yeah,
I
that's the
usually like to strut
Spotify
off
Discover
on a
Weekly
Monday.
comes out
But
Monday.
Look at the playlist today. It's called the Fashion Runway Strut. That's all about me. It's right here, okay? Now, this is not a
Superstar of
typical
Apple
Monday,
Music for me has
but I
always
still
been the
wanna know
curated
what I'm
playlist.
strutting to, so let's listen.
Yeah.
What do we got?
I mean, that's what you want, right? That's what Jimmy Iovine said was going to be the secret sauce.
Yeah, that's right. She said, get it, girl. Okay? Now listen.
Wow.
They learned from last year.
This
There was
is
so
awesome.
much bad dancing
We're
last
getting
year.
some- we're
They-
getting some.
This is early for that. I don't want to hurt you guys, okay?
This
So
is
we're gonna,
awesome.
We're going to pause this.
Man, I want all
okay?
presentations to be
All right.
like this. Does she work for Apple? Who, or is she, or who is she?
All right, but we are going to get back to this. Okay. So the rest of For You, as you'll see, has
It feels like she's
familiar
a,
with the name.
she's a
that, again,
professional presenter. I
is
mean, she's not.
For my taste, I've got
She's not a
photos
developer.
here, albums,
She could be- no, well, she
and
could be a
there's
developer
even
and engineer.
Connect. Now, the artists that I'm following have posted art and music and videos and all kinds of awesome stuff for me to connect to. Browse.
I'm sure she's an
This tab
engineer.
is for all of us.
Really?
Okay? The Apple
That'd be
Music
awesome.
editors have taken so much time, listened tons of music.
Woman in
to
charge
tell
of,
us what is the most recent and most important. Like you'll see
I
right now.
think Windows
Remember the
10
music-
now is
remember-
a.
Nick Jonas.
It's
all
quite a
right? Pay
fashionista.
attention.
So
Now,
maybe
we've
this is the
also
new
got
trend.
these
I don't know.
easy navigation
She has
down
a
here
fashion
with
blog
music,
called Fibonacci
curated
Sequins.
playlists, and top charts. So when we tap
That's
on
good.
the top charts,
Yeah.
we see who's. Look at that. It's Drake. I mean, Drake has been at the top of the chart for a little bit, okay? But you can see who else is on there. Now let's go to radio. radio is live in almost 100 countries. You guys know that? You know radio is live? All right, and Beats One is becoming the largest radio station in the entire world.
Let's get Julie
Now, we can
Antonuga out
explore
here.
Beats One and see what's live and listen right now. We can also see the upcoming
She's head diva
shows.
of global consumer marketing at Apple
Head
Music.
Diva is her name? Love it.
Like Dr. Dre, Pharrell Williams,
Global
Mary
consumer
J.
marketing.
Blige,
Good.
Sir
She's
Elton
good.
At
John.
St. Bose on Twitter.
Show, it's called the Rocket Hour, okay? It's amazing. And if you haven't listened to it, you can tap right there and listen
At
on
St.
demand
Bose.
at your leisure. So
The
that's
Z.
awesome. Now, when I want to listen to non-stop music, I can go to View All Stations and listen to genre-based stations like Pure
You notice
Pop.
that the focus
because I
is
like
on
pop music all day
the
long on
user,
that.
the player.
But I think
That
since we're
this
coming
is
to the
going to
end
adapt to
here,
whatever you want to
I would
play.
like to do something
Last
a
year
little
seemed to
bit
be,
different and play
we have a
some
wonderful
music
plan for your
world,
life, and
right?
it's
Let's play
Beats
some more
One, and it's all these playlists we're going to make for you that you're going to listen to.
By the way,
That sounds like the beginning
she's just
of a
gained
good
about 300 followers on Twitter.
All right, guys. That's the
Her
all-new
Twitter
Apple
bio,
Music.
self-proclaimed
Hope you enjoyed it.
badass and bad mama jama. Generally bad and good at it. Head diva of global consumer marketing, Apple Music, and iTunes.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Bose. That's the all-new Apple Music. It is incredible on your iPhone, iPad, your Mac and PC, your Apple TV, and Android too, and that is music. Number 7.
Not a
let's
big
talk about
redesign.
News. Now, last fall, we introduced Apple News to
Oh,
bring you the best
totally
stories,
redesigns what
the
you
best
want.
publishers,
Yeah.
all personalized for you.
I'm now
We
follower
introduced it with great
4,745.
Yeah, she's gaining fast.
We now have over 2,000 publications in Apple News, and our readers are loving it. In fact, we have over 60 million monthly users reading in News. And with iOS 10, we've got some big changes. It starts with an all-new design. Here's what it looks like. We've taken all of the stories in For You
Wow.
and
So
broken
that's the
them up
same
into
user
clear
interface
sections,
shift.
which makes them easier to follow. Here's
Black
top
text,
stories.
big black text.
Here's trending, where you can see the most
It
popular
does. It looks
stories
like
right
Apple
now.
Music, doesn't it?
All of the topics you follow, like
Interesting.
sports. And News is even smart enough to create new topics.
It wouldn't
for you
be great
based
if
on
that
what
were
you read. Here's
something
one
they're
for me on
testing out
Formula
for
One
the
racing.
mainstream
And
iOS.
you're going to love our featured stories, where our editors handpick the best
And these things are
stories.
colored,
But we wanted News
really
to be a
nicely,
place
richly
where you
colored.
read all of
How
the stories
how
from
important to
favorite
Apple is Apple
publications.
News?
And that's why we're introducing subscriptions.
I haven't heard
Oh, wait a
much
minute.
of-
Here we go. Here's the revenue model.
So
We
now,
had, suddenly I
every
understand.
article from magazines like National Geographic, newspapers like the Wall Street
So
Journal,
this is next
right
issue.
inside of News. And in addition to subscriptions, we're bringing breaking news notifications.
Interesting.
And so now you get the most important stories delivered right to
It's
your
an
watch.
interesting area for them to try to get into.
That is our big update for News, an all-new design.
Well,
subscription,
anything that helps
breaking
people to
news
stay within an Apple
notifications. And that
sphere
News.
is good for Apple because no one else gets to see that user data, but also they can spin that as being really good for users because it also lets them control who gets to see your data.
Some fantastic new designs. Now on to number 8, and it's HomeKit. You know, before we announced HomeKit 2 years ago, the home accessory space was a mess of incompatible and insecure protocols.
Guess what?
And
It
accessories
still
required
is.
you to download a separate app that you
HomeKit
needed to
has
learn
changed
just
nothing.
to control each individual accessory. But with HomeKit, we've been changing all that. We're making sure that your home automation products work together easily and securely.
Okay.
And this year, we've rounded out the set of accessory types supported by HomeKit to include important
My Amazon
new
Echo
categories,
works with
like
pretty much every
cameras,
single kind of home automation thing I've had in the
fact,
office.
Essentially every major maker
Except
of
probably
home accessories
HomeKit.
has shipping or has announced support for HomeKit.
Sure, there'll be an if
And home
this and that.
builders are getting on board as well. Some of the biggest builders of homes here in the United
Now,
States.
this is interesting.
and
This
in
is
China
really
are now building
where I've been
new
waiting
homes
for Apple to
with
kind
HomeKit
of
built right
kick
in, so
into
you can
gear.
move in and just start
It has to be
controlling your
easier.
home.
It's too hard right now.
This year,
Yep.
we're taking the next big step for HomeKit and iOS in the home. We're building on the HomeKit framework with a great new app we call Home. It's right on your iOS home screen.
So that was one issue with HomeKit is it didn't really have an app, right?
Yeah.
When you launch the Home app, you get to see your own personalized wallpaper and all of your accessories, no matter who they're made by, and you can control them so easily. If you want to turn on a light, of course.
This is the promise of HomeKit, and you got to get people to go for
the
it.
dimmer, we'll just press in a little harder and slide, and you can adjust the dimmer.
That's a
just
big
like
deal.
that.
That's nice, yeah.
So you can tap.
And we see the
across all
same
accessories in
big
your home.
black text we see in the other consumer apps.
Yeah, there's
They're
the
announcing a
unifying.
brand new. They're announcing a brand new
So for instance,
GUI, I
if you
think
wanna,
here.
The design
get ready
language,
for
yeah.
bed, you can tap good night. You'll see that close the living room shades, lock the
So
front
this is
door,
absolutely the
adjust
promise of this. And of course,
thermostat,
if it
all
works
in
with
one
Siri,
step. Now,
you don't need
Siri
your
knows how to
Echo.
interact with scenes as well. So if in the
Well,
morning
you would
say,
still,
"Good morning,
unless you
Siri,"
want to make sure you always have your phone with you, and you.
automatically get your home all ready for you for the day.
It's always someplace where it can hear you, even over the music you're playing someplace else.
Because HomeKit is actually built right into Control Center. Swipe up Control Center, you can swipe over to see your
this is
home
nice.
controls. And with just a tap,
This is
for
kind of what
instance,
we've been waiting
open
for
up
in
your
home
garage
automation,
door.
is somebody to unify
HomeKit
all
takes
this.
advantage
But what if you could do it on your watch?
of
Then you wouldn't have to have your
notifications as well.
phone.
So if someone rings the doorbell, for instance,
Talk to your watch,
you can
yeah.
tap in and actually get a live feed
That's a
of your front
Ring
door
doorbell.
camera. Talk to them on the intercom if you want, and even unlock the door, all right from the lock screen of your
Is that a ring?
iPhone.
It looks like a ring.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, applaud. Works with your Apple TV, it looks like. Did you see that?
Now, since your Apple TV is always on, always plugged in, and always on the network in your home, it can serve as a secure point for remote
This is
access
what we
and automation
thought was going to
in your
happen.
home. So when you're on the go, you can actually access all of your accessories securely end-to-end.
We were wondering if this
And
was
you can
the
set up
plan.
automation like
It is.
geofences, so that when you roll into your driveway, you can make sure that the garage door will open, the lights will turn on, and maybe even the hot tub will start up in the back for you, all automatically.
So that's your HomeKit hub.
Now, the Home app is great on the iPhone. It's also fantastic on the iPad as well. So many people like using the iPad as the ultimate.
This is
home
exciting.
control
And
device, whether
as
mounted on
it
the
looks
wall
like they've got
or
the
on
integrations
coffee
with the
table.
main players
And,
in this.
Of course, there's nothing beating the remote that you always have with you right on your wrist, the Apple
And the
Watch.
Apple
It
Watch.
comes with built-in home control support as well.
Why, this ecosystem
So that's a
lock-in's
quick
getting
update.
awfully good looking, I tell you.
Well, again, it stops being lock-in and back to
Right.
convenience.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
And
winning
its
you back,
photos
Leo.
were.
Number 9.
They're winning me back.
Phone. You know, we all receive a lot of calls, but we want to make sure that when you miss their calls, you have the best experience possible. So now you can actually get voicemail transcription of your incoming calls, so you can see what it's about without having to
T-Mobile and Verizon AT&T charge for this. They're not happy at all.
Of course, sometimes we are there and we receive a call like this and we wonder what the heck it's about. And unfortunately, in China, this can be a real problem where there's a lot of voicemail spam. So now we're supporting an extension API where third parties like Tencent can provide information automatically to tell you a possible phone spam. This is going to be super
Yeah, I use
useful
an
for a
app
lot of people
called
around the world.
Truecaller on Android that does this, and it's really fantastic. It's very useful.
Now, of course,
Presumably,
people
they'll
love
jump
doing
onto
calling
the iPhone.
from many, many different sorts of apps. And today, the experience is something like this when you receive a call, a notification on your lock screen. Well, now in iOS 10, we have a great new VoIP API that means your experience for incoming calls instead can be like this.
Knock, knock. This is what Google, of course, announced.
VoIP apps can now integrate into the lock screen. They're integrated into your phone recents. They're in your phone favorites. And your contact card has been enhanced so it remembers how you like to
Again,
call
the
each
apps
person.
become
You
less
can
important. The
access them
phone
that
becomes
way
more
with
important, and
just
the
a
apps are
tap.
the capabilities you add to
We've
a
been working
phone,
with our
which is
partner,
how it should be.
Cisco, on elevating mobility in the enterprise. And now, using our VoIP API combined with their Cisco Spark app, it's never been easier to use your iPhone with work. Because in addition to receiving calls made to your personal cell number, you also can receive calls made to your work number right from your iPhone, whether you're at your desk or on the go. It's really handy.
Ring Central does
That's
this. A number of
phone.
other companies do this.
They'll find you anywhere.
Yes. We want to thank Braintree for making our special coverage of WWDC possible. Braintree gives you an easy way to accept Apple Pay and everything else with one integration into your app. Find out more at braintreepayments.com/twit.
People love sharing things with messages, whether it's photos or links
Here's
to
where
their
we hope to
favorite
see
websites.
messages
But
for
they look
Android.
like this, but not any longer, because now we have rich links. So when you share links, you get artwork from the website, extracted titles. It's really great. And it's especially awesome when you get shared with things like video, because they can play right in line inside the transcript. Look at that guy go. Now, of course, we love using our camera to share, and we've made the camera better than ever in messages. Now when you bring up the camera, you immediately see what's right in front of your camera. Like someone in marketing thought that's what someone sees when they bring up with their camera. And you could also slide over and see your family. It's such an incongruous set of images.
Okay, Craig's fantasizing a little here.
Tap those and insert them.
Someone's
right
looking for
into
empty
your
boxes right now.
It's really convenient. Now, people really love emoji, and now we've made them 3 times bigger in the transcript, which is fantastic.
They were way too small.
And to help you always reach for the right emoji, we're providing emoji predictions as you type. Super handy.
There are third-party keyboards that do this too.
But you know, sometimes you type the
Super
whole message and
helpful.
you realize
Surprisingly helpful.
you're
Yeah, I like
totally
it.
lacking in emojification. And so we've provided the solution. When you tap on the emoji button, we'll highlight all the emojifiable words there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you can just tap,
Okay,
tap,
I'm buying an iPhone.
It's ridiculous
finally
the
be
things that
hip
we're excited
again.
about.
But the word basketball is already there, and it's messages, so you don't have a text limit. You're intentionally being silly and obstructive.
Features in messages. But you know, we wanted to do something more fundamental with messaging. Because today, no matter what you say, it's always the same bubble. It always
I don't feel like
comes
they're
across the
motivated to
same
do
way.
it for Android.
Well, I don't know. It pleases iPhone users.
We have bubble effects. So if you want to
Also,
say it loud,
if they really want to be big
you can say it
international,
loud.
they're going to have to deal with the fact that people in China have a lot. If you have an iPhone, but all your relatives have Android devices.
Oh, look at a little. I'm sorry.
And you know, sometimes
I don't want that.
You want to get across something personal.
I don't, because I might be saying I'm sorry.
Invisible ink.
You can just slide your finger across the bubble and clear away the message like that. And it's a really great way to share a surprise.
That's going to be as useful as sending your
scared to see what's
heartbeat on your
behind
watch.
You can just slide across.
Oh, beautiful.
Now,
Beautiful. I like that. Nice feature. But again,
so
Android.
sometimes you just like to send a quick affirmation, a quick tap back.
Sometimes you
Yeah,
have friends who are
can.
green bubbles.
Just tap
Forget
it,
them.
and your thumbs up can go right there in the transcript. But you know, there's nothing more personal
They're smart because.
than your own handwriting.
Oh, this is
And so
interesting.
now we support handwritten messages.
They have really been scooped by the
Handwriting
messaging
bubbles. See
apps.
when it
So
comes across,
adding
the care
capability is
there
so
as the ink
important. But
just
again, if
settles
it's not
in
cross-platform,
the transcript, it's really beautiful.
that's
We
nice.
support
I like
digital
that.
touch as well, so you can send these very lively sketches, but also with video, photos, even things like your
That's a new
heartbeat.
standard keyboard panel.
Sometimes what you say really deserves using the whole screen. So now messages can do that as well.
Wow.
It'd be more confusing and than ever.
You know, making all of this possible in messages has been a huge effort, cross-functional effort across Apple. And so for our demo today, I wanted to bring up some leads from both our engineering team and our human interface design team to give you a demo. So let's give a warm welcome to Bethany and Emron. Come on up.
Again, ecosystem lock-in. You know, you're going to want everybody in your family to have an iPhone so you can send them fireworks and invisible.
We are so thrilled to finally be able to show you what we've been working on.
You did say that out loud.
I are going to show you the different
that
ways
was
that
the
we
old-
use messages, but I'm going to kick things off by jumping first into a thread with my sister Lori, who just got to a graduation. So let's write her back and say, give her my love and tell her I said happy graduation.
Boy, I want this to be cross-platform because so many of the people we work with don't have iPhones, right?
But now,
It does concern me that so much of what they've been saying this entire demo is here is a feature that people using other apps and operating systems have been really enjoying, and now we do it too.
Right. Well, they have to do this, right? They have to play catch up.
Yeah, but
will they put all these? Somebody in the chat room is asking, I think rightly, Web 48.12 on the Mac as well. I presume so. You don't add these features to the iPhone without having to the Mac.
I would assume so. They want iMessages to be crudely. They've been saying cross-platform the whole time.
I'm going to do eyes
But I'm hoping
closed,
for.
kind of happy, and I tap on
I've been hoping to hear something about how we've really pushed things a step forward.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Apple's just playing catch-up here, but these aren't terribly ambitious new features.
No, but they're people pleasers.
So Lori just sent through a digital
Well,
touch video.
Look at that. I mean, wouldn't you want to do that?
Oh yeah, no, but again, it's a reaction to all the fun that people have on Snapchat.
Well, exactly.
And Apple observing other companies and how people are using other pieces of software.
They can't sit back and let Snapchat steal this.
Right. No, but I'm just saying that I would like to see, in addition to all of this, here is a way that we're bringing things forward. Here's the feature that we're introducing that other companies are going to want to try to bring into their own platforms, their own apps.
Right.
So it's a very
end encryption. Which they already have, although I think they need to use open standards so that we can be reassured that what they're doing is, in fact, secure.
All right, so.
That sounded a little sarcastic.
Maybe people don't care, though.
Well,
maybe people don't
I think
care.
Lori felt it, that's for sure. So now the both of us are going to show you just how fun things have become with.
What I'm saying is that I switched to Android, and ever since then, I've certainly been looking for an excuse to switch back.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with Android, but I'm hoping that there's something that is as impressive to me compared to my Android phone as my Android phone seemed compared to my iPhone 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not seeing it.
I'm feeling it. I want to do this stuff. This is all Snapchatty.
Yeah, see, it's.
But do they have overlays?
We know that millions of you have stopped using iMessages because you want to use Snapchat.
Right. Can I look like Bob Marley?
It is that easy.
Looks good on the big screen.
That's cool.
Yeah. It looks like Freddie's here, and as usual, loud and
I think a lot of normal people use messages, not Snapchat, for communicating. And, the kids use Snapchat.
Yes.
But I think this is the kind of thing moms are going to use, too.
Yeah, like mom's like crazy about the Bitmoji, that kind of thing. It's fun.
Right. I love it. You could send music. Of course, they probably have to be an Apple Music subscriber.
Right.
Oh, that. Again,
Dope. How do you? I need to learn how to do graffiti drawing that good.
Do you
Yeah.
need to do that?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
I do.
You need to have been a teenager in a middling high school in the 80s or 90s.
She did that so well. Look at that. Man.
Always so personal, always so fresh.
I almost feel like she's a graffiti
Let's write
artist.
Back and say they smashed it.
Oh, yeah. That's how the
And
kids
I'm
talk.
going to do so, sending a bubble effect. I'm going to choose my favorite, which is slam.
This is
Bam,
really
always
getting
gets my
busy.
point across.
Look at that.
I think you abused that one
Yeah,
a
it's
little bit.
kind of like Keynote transitions.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
See, this is me showing my age. I just don't like the idea of. So there are times when, like a couple weeks ago, a friend posted really sad news on Facebook to friends, and I see people replying with emojis.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that this is just my generation that doesn't understand it. It's not objectively wrong, but it always just seems off-putting that, gee, your dog died. Oh, that's so sad. Let me add like a sort of twinkle raindrop effect. No, just say, or just pick up the phone. Actually, I want you to hear my voice and saying how sorry I am that you're going through this. But again, I'm old.
I really do use it all the time, don't I?
Yeah.
These are the developers, I think.
Okay, so there we go.
You know what? Our friends are always late to the game. They really are.
It's true. It's
Okay, looks like they're playing in San Francisco, and as you might expect with a band like that, sold out. Now, Bethany sent over an effect with invisible ink. This is fantastic for when you want to keep
That is
something a
really
surprise,
nice.
which it looks like you may have. So now, to reveal the contents, all I have to do is use my finger to swipe away the particles. Let's have a look. Oh, Bethany, you got us tickets.
Cool.
Always coming through. Always
That is
coming
actually
through. Seems
pretty
like
cool.
everyone else agrees. I'm going to show my appreciation by sending some big emoji here. Make sure I put myself in there. And to close things off, let's do this with a full screen effect. And we've got some lovely ones here, like lovely balloons. We'll swipe over to confetti. But I'm going to go with this one.
Nothing beats a full screen moment.
That guy's not impressed in the
That's
audience.
iOS 10 messages, everyone. We cannot wait for you to try it. Thank you.
It's like it would be a hell of a demo for third party. As an Apple demo, it's okay.
Thank you, Bethany and Emron. It's just
I never doubted that you had the ability to add these features to messages.
for messages.
Android.
But you know,
Android.
when it comes to expressing yourself,
Android.
there was so much more we could do if we could tap into all of the creativity of all of you developers. And so we're
Android.
opening up messages to developers as well. With
Maybe they're hoping developers will do an Android version.
With iMessage apps,
No, we're talking about integration. This is the nice thing about this keynote, though. It really is about we're going to allow developers to again bring the awesome to the whatever we're putting in as stock for iOS and macOS.
From things like stickers.
So it doesn't make for a really cool demo during WWDC, but it makes for a September and October where there are much better apps out there.
Including access to the camera, so it can do incredible animated effects with apps like Jib Jab. It can accomplish more sophisticated tasks as well, like payment with Square Cash, allowing you to pay someone right through the messages thread. They can receive it and redeem it on the receiving end right inside.
Yeah, this is
the
very
messages.
much where things are going.
There's so much you can do with iMessage apps. I'd like to show you a couple of the possibilities in a demo right now. Let's take a look.
I wonder if that active assistance through the keyboard can also be enhanced.
So let's dive here.
Like, can I ask for an Uber through messages?
With the family. Now I can respond with text, of course.
This is Apple's way of doing bots, in other words, without saying the word bot.
I can get to all of my different iMessage apps, including
But
some
that might be.
stickers.
Oh, okay. Separate tray of iMessage apps.
We can see that they're all animated. I can actually look through them.
I like this. This gives you parity with other platforms in a way that's accessible, I think, to Apple users.
Here's some from Finding Dory. If I want to send one,
Yeah, this
just
all looks
tap,
like Facebook.
Drop it right in.
Obviously, none of this will work if you're sending an SMS. This only works if you're using iMessage to iMessage, iPhone to an Apple device.
But again, the ability to simply drag an Uber app into the messaging thing and
Fantastic.
simply call them
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe put that up there in the corner. And
Also let the person you're talking to see that an Uber is coming in 8 minutes. So,
But one reason a lot of companies have been slow to put this kind of capability into things like Hangouts or Google's Messages is because it's not SMS compatible. And, so you have all sorts of rich capabilities that aren't going to be used in many communications.
And cause more confusion with someone who can't see your invisible ink.
Right. Getting this cross-platform becomes very important here.
Through the iMessage apps. I'm going to look at that. Looks like Phil has ordered the Naughty Non, and Jaws has ordered, Brian's ordered as well. So I can put in my order, and I'm going to go for this deconstructed samosa. That looks pretty good.
It's really Apple's at a crossroads here. Do we lock in and say we've got all these great features, but you must have an iPhone? Or do they accept the fact that there are other? I look at my son, and every one of his friends has to have an iPhone because otherwise they're left out in group messaging alone. And now imagine, this doubles down on that. It's an opportunity. It's an economic opportunity for Apple.
if it's a shift that says that we're going to focus on making the most best built, longest lasting, and most beautiful hardware, and we're going to now make it more possible for developers to bring the software awesome for us.
Yeah.
So it's no longer up to us to make sure that Messages it has everything that it has to have, or Siri has everything it has to have. It's not as big as.
That's a question. Have they opened it enough that somebody could write an Android app that interoperates? I don't think they've opened it up that much. So if Apple doesn't do it, and I suspect they're not at this point.
But they don't necessarily have to. All they have to do is make sure that the lack of openness doesn't seem like a disadvantage. As long as that disadvantage is not apparent to users, that's fine. It doesn't exist.
Mac and Apple Watch can receive all of the interactive content.
So that's Messages, part of 10
yeah, it's not cross-platform.
huge features in iOS 10. But of course, there was so much more that we can't talk about right now. But I can't help myself but mention just a couple more things, like Notes collaboration. You now can work live with multiple people in the same note. conversation view in Mail, so you can scroll from message to message in a single thread.
It silos Apple iPhone users.
Live photos are better than
Maybe it's another way to look at it.
Digital video image stabilization, so they're buttery smooth, and they're
I
editable
don't think
now
Apple's
as well.
against that. I think they like that.
Finally, split view in Safari on iPad.
Yay.
2 websites side by side in Safari.
No more have to have, what was that called, Sidefari?
Yeah.
That third-party app that let you do that.
Now, iOS 10 is a fantastic release for our users. It's also a gigantic release for our developers. When you think about it, experiences like the lock screen with notifications, the phone, maps, messages, every major area of iOS now open to developers, and so many other options. But you know, all of this great work in iOS 10 would be meaningless to us if it came at the expense of your privacy.
This is important.
And so, in every feature that we do, we carefully consider how to protect your privacy. With apps like FaceTime and Messages and HomeKit, we make sure to use end-to-end encryption by default and always to protect your communication. And when it comes to performing advanced deep learning and artificial intelligence analysis of your data, we're doing it on device using the incredible power of the silicon on your iPhone and your Mac, keeping your personal data under your control. And when you do searches of the internet, maybe for a route in Maps or a search for information in Spotlight, well, we don't build any user profiles. Now, of course, one of the important tools in making software more intelligent is to spot patterns on how multiple users are using their devices. For instance, you might want to know what new words are trending so you could offer them up more readily in the QuickType keyboard. Well, differential privacy is a research topic in the area of statistics and data analytics that uses hashing, subsampling, and noise injection to enable this kind of crowdsourced learning while keeping the information of each individual user completely private. Now, Apple's been doing some super important work in this area to enable differential privacy to be deployed at scale. And we brought in the professor and researcher who literally co-wrote the book on differential privacy for a quick peek at what we were doing. And he described the work as groundbreaking. He went on to say that incorporating differential privacy broadly into Apple's technology is visionary and positions Apple as the clear privacy leader among technology companies today.
Of course, we're going to have to, get people to look at this and make sure it does, in fact, protect your privacy. We know that metadata is often more revealing than one thinks. But if they have a good anonymizing feature, good anonymizing capabilities, that is an interesting way to split this baby.
So well, actually, there's one more thing.
That's what Apple really needs to do. Oh, one more thing.
Aaron Roth,
we are
there's
so
pen
excited
professor.
About everything you've just seen with iOS 10.
University of Pennsylvania.
We couldn't help ourselves. We made a video. I'd love to show it to you now. Let's do it.
Okay. No Android compatibility, I guess. Our show today brought to you by Braintree. Next year, maybe even next week, there could be a whole new way to pay. I know you want to get on the Apple Pay bandwagon, but why not Android Pay and Bitcoin and credit cards too? From pounds to PayPal, Braintree makes it possible from any device with just one integration. It's easy for you, the developer. Your customers love it because it's a secure, full-stack payment solution. You don't have to stay up late, recode, stress about staying ahead of the curve. Braintree Payments does it all for you. With simple, secure payments, code you can integrate quickly. It works on all the platforms you use, Android, iOS, JavaScript too, so you can put it on the web. SDKs in .NET, Node.js, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, and Ruby. It's great code. Look at it. You'll see. It's beautiful, easy to integrate, and it makes your customers happy. That's why Uber uses it. That's why Lyft uses Braintree. That's why GitHub uses Braintree. And Hotels Tonight, so many companies you use. Braintree, go to BraintreePayments.com/TWiT and check it out. If you're a developer and you want to put payments in your app, this is the way. BraintreePayments.com/TWiT. And we thank them for their support of our coverage of WWDC's Keynote.
And we'll let you know when you can download it. And iOS 10 will be available to all of our users this fall as a free upgrade across all of these devices. That is iOS. Now I'd like to hand it back to Tim. Thank you very much.
So pretty much as we expected, where they're just basically showing improvements to the operating systems for the 4 platforms and no new hardware.
Correct. iOS OS 10 is fantastic, and it's an enormous release. I couldn't be more proud and more excited about the incredible advancements across all of our platforms. Now, as we said earlier, an important part of making these platforms so capable is our developers. We believe it's crucial that we provide the best tools so you can create the best apps. That's why we created Swift. Swift is a powerful and intuitive programming language for iOS, macOS, watchOS, and tvOS. And writing Swift code is fun and interactive, and apps written in it are lightning fast. Since we released Swift less than 2 years ago, we've seen an amazing response from the developer community. There's already more than 100,000 apps that have adopted the use of Swift code, including great apps like Twitter and Strava and Lyft. Now, we wanted everyone to use Swift, so we released it as open source in December, and since then the adoption has been amazing. It's already the #1 language project on GitHub. Swift is powerful, but it's also simple and it's approachable, so it can be your very first programming language. This is a very important point for us. Because Swift is so easy to learn, it has the potential to bring many more people into coding. And this is an idea we would like to take even further. So today, we're introducing a new app for iPad. We call it Swift Playgrounds.
Ah, very exciting. Very exciting.
Would be the first developer app for iPad, native.
The Playground feature has been in Swift, of course, since day one, and it's interactive kind of REPL.
And they'll be able to do it right on their iPad.
And it's for learning, not, I doubt you'd be developing on the iPad. This is great. We showed something last week called Swifty that was a great kind of introduction to Swift on the iPad. But this is from Apple.
Teach everyone to code.
Yeah, really important given that the iPad is their education computer now.
Right.
Capabilities of iPad. To show it to you, I'd like to invite Cheryl Thomas up. Cheryl?
Can I download this now?
Thank you, Tim. I am thrilled to show you Swift Playgrounds, an incredible new app.
Fourth woman on stage for Apple. I think there's no question at this point that Apple's committed to gender diversity.
We land on this gorgeous screen full of custom content from Apple. Up at the top are lessons, and down below we have challenges.
Great.
I'm going to start with the very first lesson in the fundamentals of Swift. We see a preview of the content with graphics and a description, and I'll open it. It starts with an introduction to the coding concept I'll be learning, and when I'm good and ready, I can just tap in the lower corner to start coding. Over on the right, you can see we have an interactive world that I can explore using touch.
Mario
I'll swipe it.
World.
Looks good, and pinch to zoom. This is Byte. He's my
Similar to
character.
Tinker.
He's irresistible, and I'll be controlling him with code. Over on the left are instructions.
Unlike
that
the
explain and help guide me through the problem I'll be solving.
Alice and Smalltalk inspired coding toys on the iPad. There's not drag and drop. They're making you type.
Or the unnamed turtle from Logo.
Yeah. But I think it's good that they're making you type, frankly, because that's how you program.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think that's so bad.
It's also nice. It's nice to see the output of Apple's in-house artists and designers.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't think they're using that skill set enough. I really enjoy an Android and on Google's online apps. You see these little spot pieces of just pretty little art that just make things nice.
This is great. I'm downloading this immediately.
Yeah, I don't look. It looks like it's not available yet. But that could be just today.
Right.
I don't think they would talk this much about it and not make it available today.
Now, I can continue to the next lesson in the series, or I can jump around to wherever I'd like. To do that, I tap in the top left to open the table of contents.
Is it just a tutorial, or is it an actual, can I actually
Yeah,
write?
no, they said education. I think this is, you can't expect people to stop writing code To put Xcode on the iPad is not.
Looks a little interesting.
Well,
I'm going to check it out.
That's not impossible with
I
Swift.
guess not.
Code already filled in. I'll go ahead and run it and see
But it's a
what
it's a significant problem, particularly with CPU.
gets the gem.
And if you say this is a development environment, people will try to develop anything on it, and then that becomes a huge problem. So it might be too much to wish for, but it's a nice thing.
You kind of need access to a file system. And maybe I'm old school. But
Okay, that too.
Right around all four sides of the world. To do that, I'm going to need a for loop.
Perhaps Apple will need to revisit their Schmile system point of view on iOS.
Is just drag a for loop right into my code. Now watch this. I can tap that loop, grab the end of it, and just drag it all around my code. All right, I'll tap the number placeholder, set this loop to repeat 4 times. Looks good.
Of course, remember that they're competing against the $35 Raspberry Pi.
He moves forward, gets the gem, makes a turn, and this time with the added for loop, he just keeps on going. I've finished another lesson, and I'm well on my way to mastering loops.
You don't get that on a Raspberry Pi, my friend.
We're all learning to code. I mean, come on, you students, let me hear.
No, you also don't get on a Raspberry Pi. You get the Raspberry Pi plus like $450 to spend on comic books and movies and an Xbox.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic app to master the basics, but it
And
doesn't
airfare
stop
to
there.
WWDC for your scholarship.
I'll tap in the top left corner to go to my library of playgrounds. I can also explore advanced coding and use the power of the iOS SDK to do almost anything I'd like. I happen to have something
This is clearly designed to replace Logo in the
favorite things, physics
school environment. Logo was a fad that I'm afraid isn't much taught anymore. But
is a lot more sophisticated than what we've
interesting.
been doing.
Look at that.
Okay, that's interesting. So you can maybe not compile, but you can work within a playground.
It's a playground, yeah.
I bet you can just take that code and then put it in Xcode if you want.
Sure, you can.
And because this is physics emoji, they create a nice little reaction. But you also notice they're all just falling down to the bottom. And that's because right now gravity is fixed. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with gravity a little bit, because who doesn't like to do that? I'm going to double tap to bring up the keyboard. We've built a completely new coding keyboard, and it is awesome. The keyboard has the numbers and symbols we use in Swift programming, and they're right at my fingertips.
That's great. That's nice.
I'm going to quickly set the world's angle, world.angle.
We have now an APL keyboard.
Gyroscopes angle. It looks good. Okay, now look at the bottom of the keyboard. There's a V key. It also has an asterisk
and
on
gyroscope.
it. Watch what happens when I press and drag down. I get an asterisk for multiplication.
That's intuitive.
You're going to get to see that again. I bet you knew that, though, right? Look at the W key. I'm going to press and drag down for a number 2. Okay, let's see what kind of impact this had. Let's take this full screen.
So this is aimed at it's interesting. I mean, you could probably start with an 8-year-old and get you through high school with this.
As I pick up the iPad and I tilt it, all my emoji react.
That's funny. Not useful, and you didn't write it, but still nice.
No, it shows you the sophistication. This is someone who has, if a kid or an adult has an idea, they can at least play with it.
Okay, so I've shown you just a taste of what you can create on your own and a small sample of the amazing lessons.
I mean,
That
Apple
is Swift
has
Playground.
GarageBand and a little music notes app. It'd be nice if they had like a coding notes app.
Yep. That's
just
cool.
sketch out some ideas for user interface and interactivity, at least, that you could then put into Xcode.
Thank you, Cheryl. Looks absolutely incredible. And because we're combining basic coding skills with real-life code, Swift Playgrounds can profoundly impact the way kids learn to code. So we're releasing it
Today.
with the developer preview today.
All right.
It will be in the public beta next month. And it will be in the App Store when iOS 10 ships in the fall. Now,
Sounds like it
we
requires
believe
iOS
coding
10.
should be a required language in all schools. So to help make this the case, we're going to make Swift Playgrounds free.
As they should.
Yeah.
And we hope that this gift to kids in schools around the world will help make coding a part of the school day. That is Swift Playgrounds.
It's actually my fervent hope that it's not part of the school day, but the kids have it at home and play with it at night.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Let's not make it part of the curriculum.
To create great apps.
Well, let's
They
make
also
it
help the
learn
next
physics. You can either calculate this yourself or you can write code to do it.
There you go.
And if you want to write code, we will help you.
Yeah.
To motivate this new generation of developers, we've created a video about what first inspired some great Apple developers to start coding. And I'd love to show it to you now.
Most frequently, it's something you did on your own as...
Hello, world.
That's cute. Because you couldn't stop yourself, right?
So this is the first computer that I coded on.
In the beginning, my biggest challenge was not having access to a computer.
The first line of code I wrote was bouncing ball. It would bounce around the screen, hit the edges, and then come back again.
I think the first one was like a to-do list. It was a to-do list.
I remember the first time I did it when it worked, and it was like magical.
I realized that I can do anything with code. Anything I can think about, I can do it. In Beirut, we experience power outages every day.
We all have stories like this. This is a really great.
Let me see if I can just do a simple algorithm that can provide the electricity cut-off time.
I still have the floppy that has my very first line of code on it.
Life to give life. What if we compress all these health guidelines into small movies?
I'm one person that saw a problem and created a solution to stop or assist a woman in domestic violence.
That's fantastic.
What we wanted, what we needed, didn't exist.
This is the real power.
So at some point, you just say, okay, well,
Professional developers not out in the world experiencing the problem that every individual is experiencing.
Yeah, you want to make it easy.
Well, when I first start an app, I have to have a plan.
We start with
Everybody thinks they can solve a problem by learning how to program and writing code. That's a revolution.
Like it's so hard or it's inaccessible, but actually it's not.
And I'm so glad they're not just focusing on like little kids.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is grown-ups are like, hey, I work in this job.
Anybody. Yeah.
Here's a tool. Here's a piece of software that I wish we had, but it would cost $10,000 just to fund the study to try to get the grant, to get the money to hire someone to do that. Or I can just spend the summer learning to code and writing it myself.
I call all my girlfriends that I cried to.
There's such a crazy feeling because there's so many emotions, so many wishes, so many dreams.
There's also the feeling of power that you get. I created something that does something, a machine that works.
By the end of 2016,
Very empowering as a kid.
we'll have a safe birth.
It's a world that you actually literally have control over.
Even if you never write another line of code, knowing that these aren't black boxes is very valuable.
Exactly.
Understanding
Especially on a system like Apple machines where it really is just so closed up. It's nice to feel as though you have some power over this thing that controls your life so much of your life.
These tools are something that we desperately need when trying to change the world.
I think the more people who can learn to code, learn to build apps, the more problems can be solved. I feel like I'm creating stuff that can actually change the way people live, which is super awesome.
I want to be this amazing coder, this off-the-chain senior developer where everybody comes to me and it's like, can you fix this? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and I go in there, I'll just type up the code and blah, blah, blah. Damn. And like, wow, you can do this. Yay!
A new ringtone. That's awesome.
It's really incredible to see the inspirations of so many amazing developers. And I can't wait to see what this next generation of developers are going to create to make the world a better place. So I told you it was going to be jam-packed. What a great morning. Great updates to all of the platforms, starting with watchOS, faster performance, better navigation, all new fitness and health features to help you live a better life. tvOS, the future of TV is apps, and it now just got a whole lot better with expanded Siri search and single sign-on. macOS Sierra, bringing Siri and Apple Pay to the Mac, along with some other incredibly powerful features. And a gigantic release of iOS.
How long until they update iOS, macOS, so that it automatically doesn't initial cap macOS anymore?
An incredible new opportunity.
There's a timetable for that. I've been typing this thing 8 times and kind of annoyed that it keeps capitalizing it because I know that I won't think to correct it. I have to like put a post-it note on the screen right now to say lowercase m.
We believe that technology should lift humanity and should enrich people's lives in all the ways they want to experience it. Whether it's on their wrist, in their living room, on their desk, in the palm of their hand, in the car, or even automating their home. This is a huge moment for us. 4 great platforms that become even more capable with working with all of you. I'd like to thank all of the developers here today and all of those watching us that have partnered with us in our quest to change the world for the better. And of course, I'd like to thank everyone at Apple, all the teams that worked so hard to make this day happen. Thank you very much and have a fantastic week.
And Tim Cook wrapping it up, the WWDC keynote for 2016. And it's a good thing Apple had warned everybody via their proxies at iMore and the Wall Street Journal and 9 to 5 Mac that there wasn't going to be any new hardware because there were no new MacBook Pros, no new nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No updates to watch hardware, which would indicate that everything that they were announcing today will work with current hardware. We usually I had not been hearing. I've been hearing suspiciously low rumbles about hardware as of like a month and a half ago, but then you wait until like a week before when all the leaks that they could not possibly stop would start to come out, and none of those came out either. Yeah. So the writing was pretty much on the wall.
Yeah,
I think it was significant. There's significant like basic policy things, even if there weren't a lot of big announcements on, hey, we created this brand new platform, or we're totally rewriting the user interface for this. It really does feel to me as though Apple is saying that we're going to give developers more power and more responsibility to make sure that to integrate what you do into what we make, so that it really does seem like a harmonious totality. Whereas before it was, yep, we're competing with you by creating our own messaging app, so eat a dart. And now it's saying we're not going to be able to update everything to suit everybody, so we're hoping that you will integrate and help to make our software even better.
Well, and of course, as a developer conference, that's a lot of what you talk about. Is here's what we're doing, but here's how you can play along. What struck me, of course, and I guess we'll run through all the things they announced because it was a long list, and all of us have been taking notes. But what struck me is that Apple has decided very clearly to create a gated community, a siloed playground, and to make it as good as possible inside that gated community. But continue to double down on their pitch of privacy and security. It remains to be seen how private and secure it is. It's one thing to say end-to-end encryption. It's another thing to say, and we don't have the key, so we can't hand over any information from messages, for instance, when you're asked. It's one thing to say, we're going to do everything on device, but what they don't mention is that the data can't all be on the device, and so it must exist somewhere on our servers, and how well we'll protect that remains to be seen. So it's kind of like they want to have it both ways, but clearly there's a strong argument for staying inside the Apple ecosystem, and that's one of the things I took away from this.
I think it was interesting. There was a lot of flashy stuff, a lot of neat-looking stuff that looks like Snapchat or Facebook or Google Photos. That was interesting. And like you said, just the privacy. Also, we talk so much about AI. They continually use the phrase deep learning instead of AI.
Never said AI or machine learning.
Right. It's deep learning.
It's AI at least once.
Did they at one point? Okay. Yeah.
Mostly it was deep learning, though, because that's the term that we're comfortable with. We're not, we're not scared of it. That that goes right along with privacy. I thought it was much more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
So quickly to run down, Tim Cook came out on stage at the beginning with, I thought, very beautiful and heartfelt sentiments about the terrible tragedy in Orlando, and asking everyone in the auditorium to stand for a moment of silence, which is unprecedented. And then talked about the 4 Apple platforms, and this really was the spine of the keynote. It's going to be Mac OS, it's going to be iOS, it's going to be Watch OS, and it's going to be TV OS, and that's what we're going to talk about. They started with Watch OS, some significant improvements, but they didn't imply that it would need a new watch. In fact, they said it'll be available. In fact, everything that they mentioned will be available this fall, and they said it will work on all existing watches, which makes me wonder, is there going to be a new watch in the fall, or are they just going to focus on software improvements and maybe an incremental fashion improvement to the Apple Watch, thinner or prettier or goldier?
Yeah. I'm expecting some sort of a fashion improvement just to encourage people who buy watches for fashion to buy a new watch, because they're probably bored with this design. Especially when you have a utility watch like this, it's designed to be worn every single day, which means that you don't have the ability to, gee, it's a Wednesday and I'm going out afterwards, so I'm going to wear my fancy dress watch, or it's the weekend and I want to get this other one. I think that people like to change things up. I'm not sure if they're going to do a revolutionary new hardware. If they had new hardware that had new features like a camera or like GPS, we will hear this week about new additions to WatchOS 3.0 for supporting that hardware. So we'll find out about a new watch later this week when all the cards have been laid out and all the videos have been posted.
One thing to point out is, while they did say the WatchOS and iOS and macOS Sierra is the code name will be available in the fall, they didn't spend a long time on any of the slides talking about compatibility. And according to Ars Technica, the new Mac OS Sierra will require, and this was the very quick slide that we weren't able to parse, but they, I guess, took a picture of it, a late 2009 MacBook or later, 2009 iMac or later, 2010 MacBook Air, MacBook Pro or later, and a 2010 Mac Mini and Mac Pro and later. So it does, it sounds like it'll work with most of the Macs out there.
Yeah.
The laptops, you're going to have 2010 or later.
That's still a 6 or 7 year span.
Plenty.
So that's plenty. That's very Apple.
Yeah. And it doesn't mention whether there'll be security updates for older hardware, but you will want a newer Mac, obviously, for this. Moving along to, I guess we could talk more about watches. There's new Minnie Mouse watch face for gender parity.
That's subtle, but that's important.
I think
really
so.
is.
I think
Such a
Scribble
simple
is
thing.
actually quite important, and they showed it being used with Chinese characters, which is obviously a big part of that, and the ability to draw an answer on the watch.
Because you're not always in a place where you can actually say out loud something, and the things you want to say are not necessarily things you want other people to overhear. So the ability to have at least some sort of a keyboard input on the device itself really does enhance everything.
Yeah. Wheelchair activity monitors for wheelchair-bound users. That's great. Breathe, to encourage you to take a breath and pause. These are all incremental feature updates to the watch. I wouldn't say anything substantially changed.
Well, no, I think the most substantial change that I saw is not only just improving performance so that there's no more lag, it can preload and pre-cache things behind the scenes, but also the idea that now there is like an app dock wheel that you can quickly access, so that you don't have to swipe up to get a glimpse and then swipe through to get to the glimpse that you want, because you need to get back to the fitness app you're using just 2 minutes ago. The idea is that hopefully it will be be like the existing dock, where it will be the most recent apps you've used in order. So if you're dipping between a music player and your fitness app, but also messages, you can just swipe to get to one, swipe back to get to one again. And that the ability to simply dip into this watch, do something, and be out again in 5 seconds is, I think, the key to making this into a much better product. And I think this is a great step in that direction.
I agree. And of course, starting June 1st, they required that all the future apps for the watch be native. And this will tie in very nicely with that. They also mentioned an SOS application, which I think is a great idea, an emergency calling application. It's going to put Medical Alert out of business. Go ahead.
Your watch is always on your wrist, and when you're home, you don't necessarily always have your phone with you. So it also works over your local Wi-Fi network. So that's just the ability to, I'm having a heart attack. I've got maybe 12 seconds of useful consciousness. I certainly can't walk to my bedroom where I've got the phone charging. The ability to simply call for help and it comes, and also will notify everything on your emergency contacts list as well as emergency services. That's a really nice thing.
And they are going to add the ability to kind of have simple games. They're going to allow you access to Sprite Kit and Scene Kit. So you will be able to get a richer experience, maybe not just games on the the watch. I think a lot of what the watch is incremental improvement. It's just trying to find that one feature that gets that one customer to buy the watch, and they've really just kind of slowly knocked down all the pins.
Putting more bricks in the foundation. Again, there's a developer conference, and the ability that they're giving developers access to the digital STEM and access to the health data and the health systems and the accelerometer and gyroscopes. That means that now people can extend and expand this far beyond what Apple could do. So it was coming eventually, but I'm glad that we didn't have to wait another year for it.
And we should mention that the updated Messages app also supports the Apple Watch. So I expect a lot of that rich interaction that's available in Messages will be available on your watch as well. And that's aimed at Megan.
It absolutely is.
Specifically.
But I'm just impressed that we don't have to buy another watch to get all these features, especially the speed features, keeping the apps in memory. That I'm really excited we don't have to buy another watch.
Yeah, they could very easily have said, well, and to do this, we're going to have to give you a lot more RAM and a much faster processor. And, of course, how is this going to impact battery life? But I think if Apple's doing it, they must feel that it doesn't adversely impact battery life and that they can do it on the existing platform. We'll see. We'll find out this fall. They also talked about TV OS. The new Apple TV has been a remarkable success. 1,300 video channels now available on it. 6,000 native apps. They announced the availability of the Sling TV over-the-top app, Molotov, which is a French TV app. I think the biggest revelation, though, with the Apple TV is that it is the HomeKit hub we thought it might be.
Yeah, I think this is really exciting. It seems like it's a HomeKit hub. It's your new Amazon Echo, possibly in the future. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. You needed something to stay home while you're out and about to interact with all your IoT devices. And so, I think we'd all speculated that was the main role of the new Apple TV and maybe perhaps the main role of the new Google On Hub. Google seems to have dropped the ball on that. They've abandoned On Hub, their router, which looked to be a home automation play, and it looks like they'll put that in the Google Hello. Apple's already in many homes with Apple TV. They did not mention sales numbers on Apple TV, so we don't know if it's gone from hobby to a serious business yet. But this will help.
So much potential in Apple TV. I'm really looking forward to seeing what other APIs they've added to it. There's always the quickly screenshotted slide that has just lots of little phrases of text that you have to then decipher over the next 4 or 5 days. Right. But the ability, just for instance, for the Apple TV being always connected and always on, to be able to accept a request from one of your Apple devices outside the home to say, please wake up my iMac and let me and get me the IP address of that, send it securely to a remote access app on my phone or on my iPad, and let me control and use my iMac through there. Even that alone would be that would be a wonderful thing to have. It would sell a lot of iPads because a lot of people who don't necessarily need a $1,000 notebook, they just need access to a few Mac apps. But that's just one example of what they could do if they decide that the Apple TV is now the Apple Home and not the Apple TV. It is like the iPod. It's just a name that can stick on a class of devices that fills a really important gap.
There was also something else about TV they just threw in really quickly. They said you'd be able to live broadcast your gameplay and share it later, which I thought was interesting. I mean, Mac is not gamers' favorite platform by a long shot, but they just threw that in. I mean, that's huge, like Twitch.
Well, it's a must-have feature. I mean, certainly the new Xbox One will do that now, and actually it's done some of that for a long time, but it will be updated. In fact, that's what Microsoft's talking about right about now at E3. We'll get to our E3 coverage a little later. But
single sign on, huge
single
deal.
sign on is fantastic. Yeah,
huge
if it works.
Huge problem for me. Having to re-sign on to CBS every month for some reason. But the ability, the fact that they made HomeKit and LiveKit part of the APIs for tvOS, just LiveKit, the ability to open and maintain a live stream as not something that you have to roll up yourself, but something you can simply call a library for. That should open up like almost every other announcement today. It's not so much what they showed off today, but as what they showed off that developers will be able to do in the next 3 months.
Moving on to iOS 10, they say in their press release, the biggest iOS release ever. I don't know what makes it so big. Is it bytes? Is it features? Is it just like, oh, we're really excited about it? They have updated a lot of things in iOS. A big update to messages. We got a long demo. Actually, really 2 demos of what messages would be capable of, and it's a catch-up play with Snapchat and WhatsApp and other messaging platforms. Telegram kind of beating them to the punch, but I think a lot of these things are very much needed. A little disappointed, I think, that it isn't cross-platform. It means, but that just puts more pressure on people to buy iPhones, and after all, isn't that Apple's business? Their business is not opening up. Their business is getting people to buy more of their products, and this certainly will help with that. Maps, music, news, all updated with what Andy spotted as a new aesthetic.
New design language, yeah, where it seems to be a lot more purposeful and a lot more. We're gonna make sure your eyes go to what is important on the screen right now, and clearly it's just for we only saw it in the new Home app, in the Music app, and in the News app, but it's consistent enough to make me wonder if, as one of those products on the island of untested toys in Cupertino, they build everything. I wonder if there is a version of iOS that uses this new design language throughout, and if we're going to see a WWDC next year in which they say people have responded so well that we've made Skybridge, or whatever they're going to call this design language, the new user interface for all of iOS. I hope that happens. Because, as I've said for the past couple of years, the thing I don't like, one of the things that threw me off of iOS was the change to this really whisper quiet. And I'm sorry, Andy, I don't want to distract you, but this app is saying that the house is on fire. You're right. You're right. That's okay. Look at something else instead. Like, there are times when a phone is more purposeful than any other computer. Yeah. You open it to do something immediately, and it's not a good user interface for being purposeful, I think.
Yeah. Of course, the biggest update to iOS 10 is Siri. Siri finally getting the capabilities she was begging for years. Some of the capabilities that she lost when Apple bought Siri from the original developers, who've moved on to create something of their own called Viv. Siri will now have an API that's open to developers. Siri will become, much as Google did this with Google's OK Google capabilities and announced it at Google I/O a couple of weeks ago. They're going to let Siri interact with apps on your behalf, become your agent, an intermediary on your phone, booking restaurants for you, things like that. I think that's great. I've been waiting for this to happen to Siri. Siri's seems to have fallen behind. Photos had also fallen behind Google's Photos, and they added a lot of capabilities to Apple's Photos to match.
Another really core improvement is in both the mechanism of notifications and also the significance of it. The idea that you can simply pick up your phone, not interact with it at all, and it wakes up and shows you notifications. Yep. And then you can actually drill down into that notification because it's open up to developers, and pretty much have that quick interaction you picked up the phone for without ever actually launching the messaging or Uber app or transport app that you're actually using. This is one of those things that could really transform the way that someone uses a phone, and these are the sort of things that get me excited when I sit down for a WWDC keynote. We really could see between 3D Touch and these new notifications, the richness of these widget type notifications that can appear inside notifications or inside the Today screen. Really means that this time next year we could all be using our iPhones in ways that we have not used since 2007.
You mentioned that, and I think this is true, Apple hasn't updated Springboard particularly. In fact, the only 2 new features I can think of in Springboard, the user interface on iOS, were the addition of folders some years ago and then 3D Touch more recently. But maybe that doesn't matter anymore because Apple seems to be leaving Springboard out of the equation. You can interact directly with the apps using Siri and notifications. Maybe you won't see that grid of icons as much as you used to. Maybe it won't matter.
I think consistently, that's been what Apple's been trying to do. I really wish they would update Springboard and at least let me choose which app icons appear in the launcher and hide away the ones that I don't use. But it really seems as though they're trying to be predictive about what you want to do and also let these features be accessible and project themselves into whatever experience is relevant.
Last time we saw them speak, they mentioned that I can't remember if it was Phil Schiller or maybe it was Phil Schiller who said, and soon you'll be able to uninstall those Apple apps like stocks that you never use. They didn't mention that this time around. Maybe they thought better of that.
And if you don't have any smart home devices, well, enjoy this picture of a house that you'll put next to this picture of a stock chart and the picture of the cloud. I talk about the island of unloved toys. That should be the next Pixar feature, the folder that has all the apps that people never use but they can't uninstall, and an unlikely friendship and an exodus to the cloud to escape ensues.
I think you've got something there. With notifications and the watch and possibly Apple TV becoming an Amazon Echo-like device, I think it's really tapping into that desire we have to not spend our lives like this.
Yeah.
We're interacting with our phone and then we're getting rid of it. We see the notifications, we interact, we're done with it. We respond on our watch. Maybe we talk to an Apple TV. I really think it's speaking to that desire we all have to be more in the world and less with our face in a phone.
I'm really hoping that this is the breakthrough with HomeKit that we've been waiting for. I mean, finally they added an app. That's a step forward.
Fantastic.
A home app, and it has that new design that you were mentioning. But more importantly, somebody had to step up. Google was making noises in that direction and unify this very fragmented home automation market. SmartThings was trying to do that. Google's trying to do that with Weave and Thread. Apple is in a great position to do it. Again, it'll be an Apple ecosystem. You'll have to have Apple TV and you'll have to have an iPhone, or you'll want to have an iPhone and an Apple Watch. But they currently work with 100 home automation products, many more to come, including thermostats and lights and window shades and door locks and video cameras. And they mentioned that they have teamed up with home builders, which I find interesting. So you may, next time you go shopping for a house, you may say HomeKit enabled house. And I think that might be a very interesting way to get into the market as well, with new homes, including HomeKit devices. But you still have that fragmentation. You still have many players in the market. No clear winner. Apple's making its bid here. And the way Apple does things, it's not, we're going to work with everybody else, but we're going to do it our way, and we hope everybody else will work with us. And, of course, Apple has the market clout to do that. It'll be interesting to see how well that does.
That's not really a problem, given that everyone who makes these home automation devices, they are super well motivated to be multi-platform. They do not want to be stuck with just with Apple users. So HomeKit is just one standard, and I've got 3 different competing light bulbs in the house. They all work with HomeKit. They all work with Google and my Google devices, and they all work with my Amazon Echo. So that's as a matter of fact, that maybe that will work to Apple's advantage. If you have 3 different devices amongst the 4 people inside the house, and everybody wants to borrow mom's iPhone because that's the easiest way to turn things on and off inside the house or set things when away, that will make people want to have their next phone be an iPhone in that house.
There is some disincentive, though. I mean, remember, you may have to add a new radio just to support Zigbee, Z-Wave, and whatever. Yeah. I don't even know what radio system Apple's
I wish they made it easier to set up. That's the pain point.
It really is.
I've installed these things for 2 years now, and each one is still the light bulb over my head right now is not working properly. It's just simply a light bulb because I can't get the app to talk to it correctly. I've even tried it. I started trying it on Android, then I started to try to install it on iOS, and I know now that I'm going to have to actually move the bulb into a lamp inside another room that has really rock solid Wi-Fi access to remove that variable. So if they can make installing a light bulb as easy as setting up a printer, good heavens. Is there a more 2016 statement? Boy, I wish that my network printer I wish my light bulb were as easy to set up as a network printer, which you just plug in and turn on and it works. Oh God, what disaster have we created by trying to craft paradise and trusting silicon to do it with?
Well, we'll see. You know, I mean, Apple does have one wedge into the home automation market, and as we get more and more IoT devices out there, where there's going to be an increasing drumbeat. I know Steve Gibson's been beating this drum. Privacy and security becoming more and more important, and we're really seeing that IoT devices just do not consider security almost at all. And here's an opportunity for Apple to step up and say, well, we have a home solution, and it is secure, and it does respect your privacy. It's interesting, at the end of the talk on iOS 10, Craig Federighi brought up security and privacy, and they really took some time to address this. This is their selling point at this point. And on all of this, they say, and this is in their Apple press release, privacy in iOS 10, security and privacy are fundamental to the design of Apple hardware, software, and services. They point out that not only do iMessage, but FaceTime and HomeKit use end-to-end encryption, making it, and this is important, unreadable by Apple and others. So they're saying we don't have the keys. It's trust no one encryption. It's end-to-end. I don't trust anything. I can't see the source code. You're never going to see Apple release a source code on this. I would like them to say something like, we're using the protocol, the OTR protocol, or we're using protocols that are wide and open and open source. But I don't think Apple's going to do that. I'd love to read more about that. They will publish a paper, I'm sure, on this.
When they were talking about the new features in Mac OS, one of them was that, hey, we also have a new cleanup sort of app that will look for cache files and stuff that you don't need and use it to free up space and use it to take files that were on your local device that you're not using and put into the cloud. I wonder that, though, when it cleans up those cache files, if it does like a secure delete, because that's another source of privacy leakiness. Not just for bad people, but also for law enforcement and people who there's a lot of data that might be still left behind in cache, even if you think that you've deleted certain files or certain histories. So it'd be a nice little extra step for I didn't mention any security whatsoever. So they didn't mention this as anything but a space-saving feature. But I wonder if just because Apple is Apple, they said, oh, somewhere it says that, oh, by the way, we use this level of safe, secure file deletion to get rid of these cache files because you never know. That would be so typical.
Apple's also addressing their kind of inherent disadvantage by not being willing to spy on their users with something they call differential privacy. It says that they'll be starting to use this with OS 10 Sierra. I'm sorry, Mac OS Sierra. Differential privacy uses fuzzing and hashing to help, this is Apple's quote, help discover the usage patterns of a large number of users without compromising individual privacy. I, of course, will want to know a lot more about how they're doing that. But they say in Mac OS Sierra, it will help improve autocorrect suggestions, lookup hints, and notes. If they can manage somehow to find a way to be smarter without infringing on privacy, that will be very interesting. And that's what they need to solve.
They cited Aaron Roth, who is a professor at University of Pennsylvania, and his page here says, he studies algorithm design and settings which either the data belongs to other self-interested parties or the computation is to be performed by other self-interested parties. This requires studying the algorithmic foundations of data privacy and game theory. So this is like his. He doesn't seem like this is as of this is a fairly recent listing. So it doesn't look like I don't know if he was hired away at this point, but this they did cite him.
Working on that stuff, right?
It looks like he's been consulting with them. They took the time to name him by name and quote him on his describing Apple's approach as being revolutionary.
We're learning more and more about how much can be deduced just from metadata alone, and until independent researchers bang on this kind of theory and really demonstrate that, oh no, this actually works, I'm going to be skeptical. I feel like it's too much to Apple's benefit to say this works.
It's not Apple's. I don't know Apple to be a company that sticks its neck out that far as to say something that they don't feel as though they can really defend, unless it's a number about how wealthy developers are getting through the App Store.
$50 billion.
Yeah. It's like, and 49.9 went to someone who's related to a Kardashian of some sort. But yeah, it's super interesting. I'll be really interested to see if this hands-off approach can yield results as nice as what Google can do. I've always said that I feel that it's a transaction you make with Google, feeling as though I'm going to trust them with my personal data so long as it gives me really good tools based on the data that it's seen. And it's been a really good relationship so far. If Siri is not smart enough to be able to predict what I'm about to do and put data in front of me when I need it,
right?
It's not
much
such
less
a good
useful
thing.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind that this is a world in which Facebook is the family scrapbook album and telephone system of pretty much the entire world, and which indicates that people aren't really focused that much on privacy, which means that they're not as well informed about it on privacy, which means that Apple's job is not only to create these secure messaging systems, but also really to be on an educational tour to explain why it's so important that Apple does not know what you're doing, that remains your bailiwick completely. So be interesting to watch. Also, the third thing is that Apple got a lot of heat from a lot of writers a few weeks ago at Google I/O by saying, "Oh, has Apple like lost the war for artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning?" It's possible that the only difference between Apple's capabilities and Google's capabilities is that Apple has not chosen that technology as one of their tentpole PR and marketing features. It's possible that their capabilities are almost as good as Google's or functionally as good as Google's, but because they don't spend 20 minutes out of every 2 hours of every keynote talking about how this new feature relies on their machine learning ability, it's possible that they're just not making a big deal out of it. So there's a lot to be learned so far.
Yeah, it's the term differential privacy is interesting, and that's basically what we've been talking about, being able to be smart and also protect our privacy, and giving it sort of that, that phrase, that name is interesting. And
I'm not implying that Apple knows it doesn't work and is lying about it. I'm just saying this is the kind of thing that needs to be verified by independent parties.
Yeah, this is their opening salvo, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we believe them, but it's also our responsibility to check what they're saying.
Exactly. And it is so strongly in Apple's market interest that it work, that I think they might be predisposed to say, yeah, this really works. It's great. It's awesome. When in fact it may not. So we gotta watch that with interest. I do think they're going to sell a lot of Apple Watches just from people who want to walk up to their Mac and unlock it without signing in. I think that's a great feature. We've tried third-party devices, third-party apps like Knock.
Yeah.
That supposedly did this.
Yeah, it worked a few times.
Yeah, I remember I was able to unlock Sarah Lane's machine. That was not what she wanted or I wanted either. So it needs some work. It needs some work. Some people in the chat room are kind of looking at Apple's documents on the new Mac OS Sierra and wondering if the file system itself hasn't been modified or updated. Apple, there was a rumor for a while, was considering ZFS as a replacement for HFS, its file system. And there seems to be some thinking that this new optimized storage, this ability to kind of make snapshots, might be some ZFS-like functionality introduced. It will be very interesting as the betas go out and developers are able to download those starting today to hear more about what Apple is doing under the hood that enables some of these new features. Let's see, iOS 10, Mac OS Sierra, Watch OS 3, a new Apple TV, improved Siri, and of course, let's not forget the new Swift Playgrounds app. I wish it were available today. It sounds like it requires iOS 10. But that's, I think, a great move on Apple's part to encourage people to learn to code, and not necessarily just in school, but anybody with an iPad, any kid with an iPad to learn to code. We should mention that Apple has said that iOS 10 will be a free software update for iPhone 5 and later, iPad Air and Pro models, 4th generation iPads and later, iPad Mini 2 and later. So older iPads, including the 1st generation Mini, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generation iPads will not be compatible with iOS 10. iPod Touch 6th generation or later required for iOS 10. It is nice that you don't have to buy a new watch for the new Watch OS, and if you've already got the new Apple TV, good news, you'll be able to download that as well. All of these updates are coming in the fall. And I think in all 4 cases, public betas starting next month, which is something Apple's started doing, and I like that a lot. I would caution people not to jump on the public beta just because you want those features. A lot of times these are broken features. They don't work well. They can cause problems. Certainly not to put them on a production machine.
It's a great use for a machine that you've got in a closet after you bought your new MacBook 2 years ago, or a good reason to take back the iPad or the MacBook that you gave a kid of yours to play with.
I need it now. Any final thoughts, Megan Maroney?
I think I'll save them for iOS today. We're going to spend another hour talking about that, so I got to have something to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. There will be a lot more to talk about in just a little bit with iOS today. Andy Anaka, what are your final thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that I wish that Megan would talk about that now, because I have to go off and write a column now. So now I have to. Now I have nothing to steal. But yeah, it seems like I've said it before in the past hour, where there was nothing that truly impressed me as being like the sort of, I can't wait to get my hands on this feature. WatchOS has the Apple Watch has gotten a little bit. They've addressed some of the grindier points. They haven't really fixed philosophical problems that might have existed with it. The fact that they're opening up so many things to developers and letting them have so much more power without sacrificing the security of the device, that's going to really push things ahead. I have been hoping to see a little less. I'm hoping to see more features that surprise me and excite me than stuff that, okay, that's great. I've seen that on Snapchat. It's nice that it's a feature in iMessage. It doesn't mean that it's a sad thing to have these cool features and messages. But when you sit down for WWDC, we've been spoiled with so many demonstrations of stuff that we were not expecting, or we thought that we knew what was coming, but we didn't know how well it would be executed. It's okay for Apple to do these things where sometimes you really just have to replace the wiring, replace the heating system, replace the water system, and it makes all kinds of things better in 8 months' time. But it's not as cool as buying a 100-inch 4K HDR TV, which you immediately start to cluster around and say, "Oh my God, we're going to do so many things with it today." So I think that I and other people are going to appreciate what was announced today a lot more after it gets some time to sink in. Because now's the time where I lean back like this and attach my fake thinking beard and start thinking about what all this means. There's a lot of meat in here.
I thank the chat room. They sent me a link to a document in the developer library at Apple. They are replacing HFS Plus with something they're calling Apple File System, a next generation file system for Apple products. It says it will support all the features, nearly all the features of HFS Plus, but offers improvements including 64-bit inodes, 1 nanosecond timestamp granularity, expansive block allocator support for sparse files, a crash protection scheme, and very interesting, copy on write metadata, space sharing, cloning of files and directories, and snapshots. All of these, many of these features that more modern file systems like ZFS offer. Very interesting to see Apple kind of incorporating some of these ZFS-style features, atomic safe save primitives, fast directory sizing. I think this is probably a little too geeky for them to include in the keynote, but it will be something we'll watch with great interest in the next generation of Mac OS. To close, one thing I wanted to point out is that Apple has really benefited from this restructuring of a few years ago, where instead of having individuals in charge of divisions, they were in charge across all product lines and in different areas. And I think that that's really one of the things you saw here, even though they were able to divide their keynote into these 4 pillars of Apple operating systems, there was a lot of cross-pollination. Messages goes across all 4. HomeKit goes across all 4. And I think that that just shows the strength of this Apple reorganization, and really does make a lot of sense now in light of what they're doing. The other thing I'd point out is no word or mention of Johnny Ive at all. I guess because this wasn't a product announcement, and Johnny's in charge of products, although he's also in charge of UI. He's the human interface leader, and the fact that we didn't hear from him at all makes me wonder if his rumored sabbatical continues on, and I hope.
I just realized no video of the new Apple Store in San Francisco.
Oh, they didn't mention that at all either.
Square,
yeah.
Which I thought I guess which I thought was at least worth some video. But we usually see some store opening somewhere, but they had a lot of nitty-gritty stuff to get through.
Yeah. And I think they did it very well in about 2 hours. We've extended it considerably over that, but
yep. So it's like the Tony Awards last night. It moved forward. You don't notice any gaffes or gaps. A lot better representation of the diversity of the employees who work at Apple, which I was very happy about.
Yeah. Although, like the Tony Awards, a lot of the technical stuff happened during the commercials, so we'll know more about that.
Features were announced during the gap. A montage, new shorter windows and network updates.
Yeah,
updating to the new icons.
I actually really want to thank the chat room for catching this new file system. I think that's very intriguing and could be potentially very exciting.
There are going to be announcements all week long as people come out of those things.
We thank Braintree for making it possible for us to do these TWiT Live specials and remind everybody, if you're an app developer, website developer, and you want to have payments, you really shouldn't code it yourself. You should get Braintree because they do it right. Every form of payment, period, from pounds to PayPal, currencies from all countries. You get Bitcoin even. You get Apple Pay, of course, Android Pay, and it's all with just a few lines of code that easily are integrated into your existing platform. I want you to try it right now. Get it to braintreepayments.com/twit. And remember, your first $50,000 in transactions are fee-free. braintreepayments.com/twit. Thank you, Braintree Payments. Thank you, Megan Maroney. We shall reconvene in moments with iOS Today. Megan also hosts TNT Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
We'll talk more about this then, too.
And I think there'll be more there, too, with Jason Howell and Megan Maroney. Thank you, Andy Inatko. He is a regular on Mac Break Weekly. He'll be back tomorrow to, after you've read and filed all the details, to talk in more granularity about this. And, of course, he does podcasts on replay.fm and relay. I get it wrong.
Relay.fm.
I always say replay. Relay.fm, including the Material podcast and Inatko's Almanac. Thanks, Andrew, from the Chicago Sun-Times. Thank you, Megan.
Guys, I will be listening to Megan over the next hour, so that tomorrow's stuff on Mac Break, I can steal stuff from her then.
You can be so intelligent. And thanks to all of you for joining us, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time. I'm Leo Laporte. Take care.